What's going on? 601. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Former Titans wide receiver Corey Davis informed the Jets yesterday that he plans on retiring from the NFL at the age of 28. Over 6 seasons, Davis caught 273 passes, 3,879 yards, and had 17 touchdowns. In his final year in Tennessee, it was one of the best of his career when he had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Jets will clear another $10 million in cap space with Davis retiring. The 49ers made a decision at backup quarterback, and it is not Trey Lance. Sam Darnold will serve as QB2 behind Brock Purdy, and it seems Trey Lance is in the doghouse. He wasn't spotted at practice yesterday, but Kyle Shanahan said he would play in the final preseason game against the Chargers. And to the Colts, they have given Jonathan Taylor until Tuesday to find a suitable trade after authorizing the star running back to find a trade partner. 6 teams have inquired about Taylor's availability, and 2 have made offers, per NFL reporter Stephen Holder. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome to your Thursday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, the radio show that does not retire at 28 years old on a Friday Junior and a Tennessee Titans preseason Week 3 Junior. Our guy, Ramon Foster, our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson. Robert Walsh is behind the glass. My name is Will Bowling. It is Thursday, August the 24th. Will Levis is back on the field, and we are back after the final practice of Tennessee Titans training camp. How are we doing, everybody?
Good. Well, good morning. Good morning, good people. Kayla, how's everything going?
Good.
Good. Glad to hear. It's Friday Junior.
That's right.
Ready to go. I actually felt like I slept well last night, too. It wasn't like I got a huge amount of hours, but like just slept well. I just slept super hard last night, which was good. It was probably necessary, too.
I may have made a grave error.
Oh, okay.
No, bro.
I hate to start the
6:03.
morning off like this, but so Lucas Panzica in his backyard has a garden, produces a lot of produce. He's a fine provider. Always
Good chef.
Great chef. He's a great cook. All the time showing up, and he's like, hey, I got some extra tomatoes. Well, yesterday he had extra peppers. He had extra peppers for me, and like I do, I always forget things. I can never remember. My dad says if my head wasn't attached, I'd lose it. So yesterday, I had the bag of peppers. I left them in my car. Unfortunately, I left them on top of my headphones. And these peppers include like jalapenos, Carolina Reapers. And I get in my car this morning, and it smells hot. Like my nose was running driving to work today. So I picked the bag of peppers up, and I'm like, I'm just going to put these in the back seat. Underneath that bag of peppers were my headphones. So they are very spicy. I'm scared to put them anywhere near my face. The only ear that they are covering right now is burning, and I'm not sure what to do to remedy my pepper ear. I don't know if this has happened in the existence of human beings on the planet, but my ears are scorching right now, and I don't know what to do.
I've never actually heard of that happening.
Pepper ear.
I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. Like bring some milk in here and dip it in the milk or what? I don't know. So I will be struggling for the rest of the day.
Is it getting hot in here?
I'm eventually going to take off all my clothes, much to
Okay.
the chagrin of everyone in the other studio.
That's what I was wondering right there. Please,
Either way that you
Bert,
were.
if you have to, pour some milk on your face. That'll do it.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it a shot. I cannot do that in this studio because I feel like that'll just make an
They might
equal mess.
fire you if you do it in there. Like, yeah, you got to tread lightly in that studio.
I'm gonna take it to the bathroom. And anybody wonders why I got a cup of milk in the bathroom, just mind your own business. How about you let me do in the bathroom what I gotta do?
How did you forget? Just walked out of the car, just operating as usual.
I was ready to get home. I was ready to get home and just go to that back porch and just sit down with my cats, man. And I left them all in there. So
Your cats always come back.
They ain't got no choice.
Okay.
They can't get out of the fence. I ain't gonna let them. My cats are not bright enough to know that they have the athletic prowess to jump out of the fence. They are just very dumb jocks. They have no clue the heights that they could reach if only they would exert themselves and try. But instead, they choose to lay in the grass all day.
They're living in captivity.
Too early for that one.
There we go. All right, my ear's burning, and not from that terrible joke.
If you weren't awake yet, now you are. 615-737-1045, our number. Coming up on today's show, PFF Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo stop by coming up in 15 minutes as we talk Titans with them. Coach Dave McGinnis at 7:20. Ben Arthur of Fox Sports hits the AFC South headlines with us. And at 9:20, guys, a season-long competition begins for this radio show. The Thursday 3. The artist formerly known as the Friday 5. We are going to be making 3 picks against the spread every Thursday. And this season, somebody who has the best record at the end of the year will win some sort of prize. I have no idea what the prize is. We will have to put our collective heads together.
Yeah.
Likely have to add the brains, the ideas of the sales staff that sits below us in this building and come up with something good.
Yeah, we'll come up with something good. It's got to be something good we can
For
wager
ourselves.
somewhere. Yeah, I know.
Oh, first, we'll have to see you guys do your little bet. So whoever loses that, that's first.
Oh, the push-up thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah,
that's
I'm
coming
going to
around
lose.
the corner. I don't know. You never know.
What was it? About 4 days away? 5 days
Never
away?
know.
5 days away?
We will have to do our 53-man roster prediction tomorrow as well, going into the final preseason game.
Wonder
boy.
where they'll shave some roster spaces at.
Not a quarterback. I mean, they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. So
Should we just get it done early?
not yet.
Push-ups.
Not over till the fat lady sings.
All right.
Hey,
You hush.
you're a man.
It's not over till the fat man sings.
That was actually pretty good, Bert. I don't know if you were actually trying.
I got range, man.
You got range?
No, not really.
That's what I was wondering. Were you
Pretty
gonna
bad.
be honest with
I
me?
used to sing a lot of solos, but I would have to sing solo.
Solo,
that
you couldn't hear
No
me.
one could hear me.
Yeah.
Yep. It was my terrible joke for the morning.
I love it. Don't worry, mine aren't done. 615-737-1045, the number. We've got Corey Davis announcing his retirement at 28 years old in the NFL headlines. Sam Darnold beating out Trey Lance for the number 2 quarterback spot. I'm old enough to remember when we were talking about Trey Lance as a potential option in case Malik Willis couldn't get his stuff together for the Tennessee Titans. I would say
remember
Malik
that.
Willis is now in a better position than Trey Lance.
Yeah, he is. I never thought it was going to go that way as far as his career. Health, of course, definitely derailed him a whole lot, but goodness gracious, to be behind Mr. Irrelevant right now and another failed first-round draft pick, if we want to call him failed. He's not failed.
I
Sam
would.
Darnold.
Well, Sam Darnold has been around the block a couple times too. So that's kind of shocking to me, just considering, I know it's not a huge age difference, but considering that Trey Lance was a first-round pick, I just feel like something was not, when that all happened, I just feel like the GM and head coach were not on the same page initially. Because that's a big flop.
That is a big flop. But he's going to land on his feet. Heck, he's barely got an opportunity. I don't think you can even categorize him as a backup number 2 right now as it stands with Trey Lance.
You think he's a starter?
He can still be, I think. I think you can almost, other than his 5th year option, he, in my opinion, should still have the tag on him. As far as nobody's ripped the tag off of his career. He's still refundable is the way I see it with him. Because you hadn't seen much to actually warrant that he's a bust.
Was Sam Darnold or Trey Lance?
Trey Lance.
I thought you were talking about Sam
No,
Darnold.
I was talking about Trey Lance. Okay, all right, my bad if I was off on that one. Yeah, Sam Darnold's definitely it.
I was going to say.
He's on the lower
No, I'm
tier
talking about
right
Trey
now.
Lance.
Trey Lance, to me, I think he still got the tag on him. I don't think anybody that's getting him other than that 5th year option, because that's going to cost, and that's an investment on that. I think you can still mold him. I do.
Where at?
Not in San Francisco is my only answer right now. Maybe do you send him up to Seattle? I mean,
Possibly.
That right there is case in point number one. Do you put him behind Kyler Murray also? You know, think about it. There's a lot that can be said about a guy in his position right now. Do you send him to New Orleans with the right type of OC?
Sure.
And I know Derek Carr is there, but of course, like I said, if he get cut and nobody pick up that contract, then he's a bona fide free agent, and you can start right all over again with him.
Ian Rappaport offered yesterday sending him to Minnesota, where Kirk Cousins is on a shorter deal.
Yeah.
You've got Nick Mullins as a backup. You potentially have a spot for a third quarterback. So maybe that would make sense. Maybe Minnesota would want to separate themselves with some capital for him.
I mean, when you think about it, too, Trey Lance has not played football since 2019
Right.
as a full-time starting quarterback. That's a long time. Well, I mean, think about what you were doing in your life in 2019 versus now. That's a long time to go without being a full-time starting quarterback for anybody.
Yeah. He's a pandemic pick.
North Dakota State didn't play football in 2020
Sure didn't.
because of the FCS wasn't playing when NFL prospects were getting ready for their own drafts. So at this point, I mean, the guy's going to need, I think, the clock still hasn't even started on him developing because he's been hurt for so much of his development in the NFL. Like, the guy needs 3 or 4 more years. You think Malik Willis has a long learning curve? That's nothing compared to this guy.
Yeah.
Even though he has more NFL talent, maybe. But, I mean, I would rather have Malik Willis than Trey Lance at this point.
And that's where I was sitting at as far as saying, I think he's still salvageable.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though. We always speak about this on the show, that there is no waiting period anymore for backup quarterbacks. We spoke about it yesterday.
It's not.
With
You're
Steve
right.
McNair and the opportunity he got to develop compared to even a Malik, which I think is getting some time. I think they're giving him a chance. That's what always worries me about a guy like Trey Lance. The 49ers is a legit franchise, right? And they've I feel like treated players pretty well, developed some guys, have had success. And I'm not saying that Trey Lance can't go and find that somewhere else, but the clock is already ticking. That's the NFL world we live in.
It is.
You know?
It is. His biggest contingency is his price moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Send him to Arizona.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue
Somewhere
with
like
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
615-737-1045, the number. Coming up, we talk with PFF's Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo. What is the ceiling for the Tennessee Titans offensive line this season? They've been in Nashville watching Titans training camp. They'll give us their thoughts from the Pro Football Focus world. That's next as we continue here in hour number 1 on a Thursday morning, a humid Thursday on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Thursday morning continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. You could join us at 615-737-1045. Full crew in studio. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. And joining us, Pro Football Focus's Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo, talking Titans offensive line, training camp storylines here in Nashville, and much more here with us. Guys, welcome.
Thank you. Good to
thanks
see
for
you.
having
Here.
us.
Absolutely.
Trying to get my headphones set up here. You got this.
Come on.
Very professional.
This is your first day.
Oh, it twists and I hate that. when that
What's going
happens.
on here?
Yeah,
I don't
let's
wanna-
help a brother out
You
here.
gotta twist it.
Oh, okay.
there.
Our esteemed
And
producer,
maybe-
There
Robert
it
Walsh,
is.
We don't
bringing
have
his
the cool
headphones in here.
headphones.
Baseball player,
We don't
man.
have the cool
Gosh,
headphones in
they're not
Cincinnati.
really
That
hands
headphone
on
jack
like
works.
that.
See, when you're at home and on the phone, you don't have to deal with the headphone situation.
I don't.
Right? Sam just looks like a gamer over there.
You do.
Not my
With the
first
little
rodeo.
mic phone. Yeah.
I love it.
doubt.
How was practice yesterday?
It was
good.
Yeah, we were hoping to see Patriots Titans. Obviously,
Right.
that got canceled, but it was a nice little scrimmage that we got to see yesterday. Tannehill versus Malik Willis, head to head.
So we were told that they literally drafted like all the way down to the trainers. And Terrell Williams against Stretch, as he's affectionately known around here, John Stryker, who literally were like drafting support staff and managers and like trainers. Like this, Mike Vrabel is all about building these just like intensely competitive environments, literally at a moment's notice. But sounded like it was a pretty spirited practice yesterday.
It was good fun. I will say, so, you go through these training camps. It's fascinating to see the various different support staff and trainers and, people that work in the front office are out here like
Right.
snapping the ball to quarterbacks and stuff. At every, destination you go to, the Titans have by far and away the least accurate training staff when it comes to just pitching footballs to people. They had guys set up, just walking down the line, trying to work on just drop a ball over my shoulder so I can work on catching it. And not one of them was even workable. Like, come on. The man's trying to hone a skill here.
Some extra reps
Sam's
here.
like, I'm getting out here.
So it sounds like next we're going to see PFF's grades of all
Yeah.
accuracy of training staffs
Right.
around the league next.
Y'all
There we
should.
go.
I think you should, man. We were Minnesota this weekend, and I'm watching. Had to have been training staff or weight room staff throwing over the shoulders to Justin
Right.
Jefferson this weekend. I won't lie, dude was dropping some dimes in there, man. I was like, dude got a talent. And then the other side of that is too, most elite athletes like a Justin Jefferson or elite quarterback has a quirkiness to him. It's just like, why are you good at everything?
Yeah.
The dude sprints off to the corner. Justin Jefferson grabs the ball and drops a dime in the back of the corner end zone. Just thinking to myself, why do you have to be this good at everything? You know what I'm saying? Like Ben was that type of guy who's like shooting basketballs into the garbage can.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like,
And you were an NFL athlete.
That's
Think
what
about
I'm
how the
saying.
rest of us feel.
just flawlessly come to you like it's nothing. Like, oh, you bowl too? Oh, and you hoop? Oh, and you play lacrosse? Like, no, you can't be elite at everything and he played baseball. Like, what the heck are we talking about here? I hate those type of dudes.
We clown Ramon for his 40 time being 5'2" slow, while recognizing that 5'2" is still faster than like anyone else in this building could run.
Exactly.
So,
We actually ran a 40 at the combine this year.
did you?
Yeah,
What?
they had the fan thing set up. So I was reasonably encouraged that
Go ahead.
in cleats and no, without cleats in athletic trainers and jeans, I ran a 5.33.
Okay.
I think that was okay.
Pretty good for a 40-year-old right there.
And did not rip a hamstring off the bone doing it. That was
That's
most
the
important.
biggest
Big
thing.
win.
Did you
That's what
run it?
matters.
I did not, no.
Okay.
I was I had other work to do that week at the combine, so I did not get to do that.
You see Pac-Man ran a 4.5 still?
Crazy.
Steve was waiting for his pro day to run his, his 40.
Wait for still training for the pro day. The 38-yard dash at the pro day.
Right.
Very
Do it on
important.
campus, on your own campus.
That's right, downhill.
Yeah.
Well, watching this team right now, guys, we're so interested by the different conversations about this Titans team because here day to day, I think the conversation locally has been this defense could surprise some people if they can stay healthy, right? And the depth in the secondary, a little bit of a concern, but we feel like, up front on the defensive line, Arden Key's a guy that's been impressive. Jeffrey Simmons obviously needs no introduction, and guys like Tier Tart and Jaden Peavy, these undrafted guys, have been solid. From y'all's perspective, getting to watch the scrimmage yesterday, just when you look at this team from the broad view, what impresses you the most and what maybe surprises you the most just seeing them in person about this Titans team?
I mean, I think defense is definitely the stronger unit at the moment. But the addition of DeAndre Hopkins is huge for that offense. Like, you can already see it in practice that he makes an absolute difference to everything they're doing. They're looking at him, first and foremost, most of the time. And that bails them out of a lot of situations, where the defense does have the advantage and it's going to get pressure and it's going to shut the play down. And they just go, you know what, let's take a shot to Nuke. And most of the time he's going to make it right, whether or not it was the correct decision. So the interesting thing, I think, is going to be when their defense comes up against a different offensive line, because that's the one area where you look and you say, that looks a little bit concerning right now. And it's difficult then to get a real gauge on what the defense is doing versus how much is just the offensive line being a problem.
What specifically was concerning to you that you guys have seen on that front for Tennessee, for the offense?
I mean, it's really just how frequently they're getting beat, right? It's almost every single play. Yesterday, there was some kind of pressure. Now, Malik Willis wasn't helping that with his group, but I think generally on either side, the offensive line looked concerning.
Yeah, I think just on paper, the offensive line, they paid a lot of money to Andre Dillard to come in and play left tackle. He's unproven. We really liked Peter Skoronski coming out. But again, he's a rookie. The expectations for a rookie offensive lineman, the differences between year 1 and year 3. I think Skoronski's going to be good, but he has to be good right away. And Aaron Brewer, maybe at center. So I just think the line has question marks. Petit Friere at right tackle, I thought he was okay last year. He's got to take a step forward. So that's the type of thing where I believe DeAndre Hopkins makes a huge impact on an offense. He did that in Arizona right when he got there. But you have to have the time to get the ball to him, so that's where it's got to all work together.
Did you like what you saw out of Ryan Tannehill? Because here it's always, there's a lot of Titans fans who I feel like don't appreciate what he brings to the table, but at the same time, I think a lot of people nationally would agree, like, he's really not like the top of the cream of the top, right?
We were told not to talk too much about yesterday's practice, so I mean, we just want to follow the rules here. But look, I made a statement the other day about the Atlanta Falcons. They have a really fun group of playmakers, and I said, I don't know what you're getting from their quarterback, Desmond Ridder, but I said, if you dropped Ryan Tannehill on the Falcons, I'm really intrigued.
That's interesting.
So that's the story of the mid-tier quarterback. That's what Ryan Tannehill is. The people in town are like, looking elsewhere. There's other better quarterbacks somewhere, but you're also like, I don't want to be as bad as these other teams. I mean, that's Tannehill. You can win with him, but it's got to be what we saw a few years ago: controlled, play action heavy, have that, alpha playmaker on the outside. If you have that, Tannehill can be really productive. Yeah,
once he got going yesterday, he looked pretty good. I mean, he had a fairly rough start, I think, to the scrimmage, but then as the thing went on, he was the one that was negotiating the pressure. He was the one that was moving the ball in the 2-minute drill, that kind of stuff. So Tannehill is who he's always been, which is a good quarterback if the situation around him is good.
Mm-hmm. The question I have for you guys is, right now, everybody in America has a team in their city think they can win the Super Bowl. Like, that's legit where everybody is. And the way you guys have broken down positions, teams, aside from the quarterback, because not everybody has a Patrick Mahomes, right? What is a Super Bowl team? How does it look?
I mean, I think the Eagles last year were a really good example, because we didn't know what Jalen Hurts was last year at this time, but we had a feeling that the Eagles had made a lot of good moves. Their secondary is really good. They had few weaknesses across their roster. I view a Super Bowl team as a team that can win differently every single week.
Okay.
And that's what the Eagles did last year. So they would win with 200 yards on the ground one week. They'd win with A.J. Brown with 2 catches, or A.J. Brown with 12 catches. They'd win with defense and pass rush, or they'd win with Jalen Hurts, tearing it up. So that's what I look for, the versatility and the ability to win multiple ways.
I think the thing is the line is moving now, right? Because there's so many of these good teams. The AFC in particular is just loaded. So you need a couple of things. You need to have a team across the board that's good enough to be playing in January, right? Like, that's step one. Let's make the playoffs, because that's not a given anymore. And then number 2, you've got to have a quarterback that's good enough that not to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and all those kinds of things, but to be able to have a streak where he can play 3 games, at the top of his ability and look like one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, even if over 17, he's not that guy. So I think those are the 2 components you need for a Super Bowl run right now. It's a good enough roster, and then the capacity to catch fire for a few games.
Have you also seen the emphasis as of late of going back to running the ball? Like, I know here it's always been the thing, but I think if you look across the league right now, even though the running back position is super devalued, The attention to your offensive lineman and running the ball, I feel like is taking a step up. How do you look at this duo of what Derrick Henry has been and what you've seen from Tajay Spears so far in preseason?
They look fantastic as a duo. I mean, I think Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry, right? Nothing changed other than the fact that the situation around Derrick Henry fell apart, which is, one of the things that we've always been talking about, like why the position is not as valuable as a quarterback. Because if the offensive line falls apart, last year the Titans had the 32nd ranked offensive line in PFS rankings. If that happens, doesn't matter if it's Derrick Henry. He's not going to be able to carry the team the way a quarterback potentially can. But if you piece that back together in front of him, he's still going to look like Derrick Henry. And then Tajay Spears is a guy that, we loved in the pre-draft process, looked fantastic in everything up until draft time. And he looks like the same guy. I mean, some of the moves he's been pulling in preseason, incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Spears. I mean, the run game that you're asking about around the league, I think it depends on the team because, again, when you have a Ryan Tannehill's never been the guy that you say, hey, go throw the ball 40, 50 times a week. You never want that from Tannehill. But if you say, look, you have to have 30 good plays this week and, 15 of them are going to be coming off of play action, like you're tightening up the pressure. You're tightening up the third and longs that you need from your quarterback. So that's where you might want to rely on the run game a little bit more. And it makes sense with a Tannehill or with, the way the Titans are built.
PFF Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo, our guests. For this offensive line, then, what is their ceiling this season? Like for Peter Skoronski specifically, it almost feels like this offense could be at its best as an offensive line unit if they just moved him to left tackle. But is that best for him and his long-term future? Where do you guys kind of fall on that from their perspective? Like, how good does this offensive line need to be in order for the Titans to contend in the AFC South?
We always use the phrase on the PFF NFL podcast, creep back toward average.
Perfect.
Right? You just need, no offense, Ramon, but you guys aren't going to carry the team, right? Like if you have the best offensive line in the league, but you don't have a good enough quarterback, it doesn't matter. But you can't have an offensive line where every time it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you're giving up pressure. You have to at least be in the middle of the pack. Skoronski specifically, I'm of the mind that stop measuring arm length and saying this guy has to be a guard. Just end it.
Yeah.
If he can play left tackle, he can play left tackle. And I think there's a chance that Peter Skoronski can play left tackle in the NFL. And I'm of the mind, I know you've only got so many reps and all that, I would give him a chance. Like, I'd give you a chance to fail at tackle first, and then I feel pretty good about you moving to guard. So I would always try a Peter Skoronski type who's really talented, technically sound, held his own as a left tackle in the Big Ten against good rushers. Give him a chance to play left tackle rather than just measuring his arms and say he can't do it.
On the opposite side, the defensive line and what they bring to the table, I think a lot of people saying this could be special because you've got Jeffrey Simmons, who is the dog, but Harold Landry's back. He's a year removed from that ACL. And you've got the addition of a guy like Arden Key, who I'm sure you guys have heard has brought a whole different type of energy and skill here to this team. We've got
homework for you, actually.
Ooh.
We need one of you guys to find out what Arden Key currently weighs.
Okay.
Because he was a guy who he's like the poster child for that long, undersized, thin edge rusher in college. And there's tons of those guys in college. And then they get to the NFL and really struggle because if you're long and don't weigh a lot, you just get destroyed by offensive tackles.
You know who was that body type but put on weight, though? Chandler Jones.
Yeah. So you can do it if you bulk up, but there's a ton of those guys. Like Shalik Calhoun was another one who had, the skills and just never had the bulk to be able to survive. And Arden Key kind of washed out initially and then looked like he added weight and size and has become a really consistent, situational pass rusher over the last few years. And now it's like, well, let's see if he can do it full time again. Like he's a different player now than he was when he couldn't get it done earlier in his career. Let's see if he can become the player that we thought he was going to be or that somebody thought he was going to be when he was drafted.
There's always a conversation of Big Jeff. How much of a game wrecker has he been as far as you guys' grading scale, man? Like when he's out on the field, what's the differences in his play versus not being on the field?
I was just running some numbers on some of this the other day, actually. When he gets double teamed, he's one of the best in the league, handling double teams in the run game and everything. So those are the things that kind of go unnoticed from a guy that's, especially when he's lined up as nose tackle. I didn't think that was going to be him coming out. I thought he was going to be disruptive pass rusher, get up the field type of guy, but he holds the point and he's disruptive. And I think when I look at those defensive linemen, there's those single games sometimes where they just take over. That was Simmons against the Rams a couple years ago during the Rams Super Bowl year, where he's unblockable, has 10 pressures. You don't necessarily get that every week, but some guys are able to do that. So he has the ability to take up multiple blockers, which is, cliche, but legit for Jeffrey Simmons. He has the ability to take over games, and then it opens up everything else for the deep defensive line that you're mentioning, Kayla. I love the depth there, and I think that is going to be the key to the Titans. When they were playing well 2 years ago, had the number 1 seed, it was those games where the D-line was setting the tone.
Sure.
So in that same conversation then, if Big Jeff is holding 2, that's what a defensive lineman's job. If they're not seen, they're probably occupied by 2. That's a great place to be at. Where do you find this linebacker core behind him then? Because we hadn't talked a lot about him, but I see the smirk on your face.
I don't know. It's an unknown. Don't ask me questions I don't know.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen much from most of them.
Azeez Al-Shire is a guy from the 49ers.
He's been good. He's been good.
Okay.
He's the one guy, like, he was underrated in that 49ers linebacking group because you have Fred Warner, you have Dre Greenlaw, but he was very good in San Francisco. Familiar face with the front office and everything. Everything else beyond that is an unknown.
Does he need a really good co-star is what I'm asking him, because I know what we're getting out of Azeez.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need a good co-star to ride with him? To be a good defense?
I think linebacker is almost similar to offensive line, where it doesn't have to be star-driven. If you're going to choose where your stars are in the defense, it's the D-line. You want to have a star corner. You want to have a playmaker in the back end. So linebackers have to be just good enough, so we'll see.
Yeah, and it's in this weird place right now in the NFL where you either have a star, you've either got a guy like Fred Warner, and there's only a couple of those guys in the NFL now, or it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like the big jump is if you can find a superstar, that changes everything. Like the things you can do with Fred Warner in your defense changes how your defense can operate. But if you don't have that guy, the difference between, a good linebacker, an average linebacker, a below average linebacker, it's not really changing that much to your defense because they're all getting wrecked. Like when you look at everything that's happening in today's NFL, it's all designed to stress linebackers and make them wrong. So it only changes when you find a guy that completely changes that dynamic.
Sam Monson, Steve Palazzolo, our guest this morning here, courtesy of Pro Football Focus. Thanks for coming out, guys. Great to meet you
That was
guys in
fun, you
person.
guys.
That was way too quick.
I know.
I will stay for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Y'all gotta go. I want to ask about the kickers and everything, man.
Oh, no. We gotta go. Cut the break.
Guys, thank you. Appreciate it. So there they are, Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson with us on our own Kale and Will. We scattered them quickly by mentioning we were going to talk kickers, and they went and kicked it somewhere else, just like the 2 Titans kickers who were here earlier this week. Coming up, the picks made after Trey Lance in the NFL draft a few years back make his now exclusion from the 49ers roster sting a little bit more for San Francisco fans. The NFL headlines coming up next. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors here on 104.5 The Zone. Robert Walsh, what music is this?
This is Tarzan Boy.
Oh.
I like the ambiance.
I feel like there should be like side effects may include runny nose.
If you use Baltimore,
headaches.
You may throw the football like Pete Carroll.
This sounds like something at the end of like a multivitamin ad. Just like, I got my life back with Tarzan. I don't know. I couldn't think of a good pill.
I got my
Anyway.
life back. Oh, that's solid right there.
So the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, number 3 overall. On the news today coming out that he will no longer be a 49er, most likely. Kyle Shanahan wanting Trey Lance to stay as the number 3 quarterback in San Francisco. These 10 players were picked after Trey Lance in the 2021 NFL Draft. This is a tough list if you're a 49ers fan. Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons, and Rashawn Slater.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid group of 10 NFL players who all could have been San Francisco 49ers. Even further down the list in that first round, Mac Jones, even though he's not great, he's still better than Trey Lance. I mean, that Kadarius Toney, Caleb Farley, 2021 first-round pick. Just going through those again. Greg Newsome, Najee Harris, Travis Etienne. Not really an athlete. It's crazy the whole San Francisco put them in. As well-run as that organization has been, I think it shows that even the teams that are consistently playing for conference championships still have these just swing and a miss picks.
And what I think makes this bad too is what they did to get him too. I'm looking it up right now. They exchanged first-round picks in 2021, 22, and 23, and their third-round pick in 2022 for Trey Lance. Like, you gave up a haul to get a guy that started, I'm not even sure how many games, started 2 games for you. He is started 4 games, 2 in 2021 and 2 in 2022. That's
Right.
a hard day.
That's why I mentioned before why I thought that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch maybe weren't seeing eye to eye on that whole situation, because it kind of seems like it didn't work out the way that they wanted it to. It's just, that's a lot to give up.
It is. It's a whole lot to get up. And in those 2 games, 57% completion rate in 2022, 48.4. So he doesn't have a lot. I will say this, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in those first 2 starts he had. So, I mean, in 2021. I think there's something there. I just look at this situation and say and say about it, to your point, Will, you can go for a top 5, top 3, top 10 pick at that position. Injuries happen. Life happens. Not being on the same page with your GM and head coach and coordinator, like all of those play factors into it. There is no surefire way of getting your franchise guy. And they threw everything out to get him. And we're talking about 3 years of consecutive draft swaps.
I think a lot of teams would be happy to be in that position too, because look at the Niners. I mean, they're competing. And maybe they're going to not take it as hard too, because who do they have now? Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a luck thing in how it's worked out for them. I feel like if they didn't have that situation right now, maybe it'd be a little bit harsher of a reality for the Niners, but they have Mr. Irrelevant.
They do. They do. And that right there is going to be something that's going to be watched too moving forward. As you say, how do we develop? Who's the perfect guy for us? Because I think Brock Purdy is what we're seeing right now. Has enough trust, has enough playmaker ability to be able to win you games. And when you have the talent surrounding him, and San Francisco has one of the more talented offensives in the league. Okay, Debo, just throw him out there. Christian McCaffrey out there. Their offensive line, they got think about what they have as far as an offense, and now you say, we want a franchise quarterback. Guess what? They did get one in the 7th round in the last pick of the friggin' draft.
Right. It's interesting that Trey Lance's cap hit for this season is also $9.3 million, which really incentivizes you if someone steps up at that position to just go ahead and trade him. Like, I think that's less about his potential in the league and more so about, look, Brock Purdy fell into your lap. Let's save some money, right? So I think that's where this becomes interesting from his perspective is that you have to have a perfect storm in order to develop behind someone in this league. And he had like the imperfect storm between not playing in the 2020 season because draft prospects didn't play in 2020 who were from FCS because that was played in spring in FCS that season because of COVID. Then you have a season-ending injury and Mr. Irrelevant ends up being a really good quarterback. Yeah, like your time there is over. I think that's less about him and more so about Brock Purdy for me. Because if Brock Purdy never happens, right? Let's say the Brock Purdy experience never becomes a thing for San Francisco.
Right.
Then is Trey Lance getting another shot this season? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I think it's a strong conversation he's getting another shot.
Exactly. So at that point, when you have a third quarterback, you might as well get something for him. And I think this is John Lynch in San Francisco just putting this into the universe, trying to get the train moving a little bit for some value. But, I mean, there's none for a guy that's coming off another injury and hadn't played as a full-time starter at any level since 2019.
And there was plenty of talk about him in the draft, too, of being a potential, player on the run or, on the move, I should say. Because remember all the attachments? Not like they were true at all, but the talk about here and the connection with Ray and Carthon.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's too far-fetched.
It's fascinating, though, to look at what a starter is going into the NFL. Like, you look at Brock Purdy, and you say he wasn't a dud in college. His last year completion percentage at Iowa State, you know what it was? 71.7% completion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the finite details you have to look at to figure out, can a guy play or can a not guy play? Can not a guy play in the league? He's 67% completion for his career, 12,000 yards in college. What is the actual method of picking a franchise quarterback?
And where did he go to school, Ramon?
He went to Iowa State.
Right. And look, nothing, Trey Lance went to North Dakota State. So can't really say anything about that. But yeah, it is. It's a crapshoot.
Coming up, Will Levis returns to the practice field at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. And one secondary standout we're not talking about enough had 2 interceptions of Ryan Tannehill. We'll tell you about that coming up next.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Former Titans wide receiver Corey Davis informed the Jets yesterday that he plans on retiring from the NFL at the age of 28. Over 6 seasons, Davis caught 273 passes, 3,879 yards receiving, and had 17 touchdowns. In his final year in Tennessee, it was one of the best of his career when he had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Jets will clear another $10 million with Davis retiring off their salary cap. The 49ers made a decision to add backup quarterback, and it is a first-round pick, but it is not Trey Lance. Sam Darnold will back up Brock Purdy, and it looks like Lance is in the doghouse. He wasn't spotted at practice yesterday, but head coach Kyle Shanahan said he will play in the final preseason game against the Chargers. And to the Colts, as they have given Jonathan Taylor until Tuesday to find a suitable trade after authorizing the star running back to find a trade partner. 6 teams have inquired about Taylor's availability, and 2 have made offers, per NFL reporter Stephen Holder. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. Oh, that is not.
Seven a.m. in Nashville, Tennessee on a Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. With Trust Matters, count on All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. Professional garage door installation and repair from a locally owned and family-run business. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. You already know that Coach Dave McGinnis is coming up in 20 minutes. Always good to chat with Titans Radio's head coach. We'll ask him the biggest variable you have to consider when deciding if a player needs or doesn't need to play in the final preseason game. And yes, that includes the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
With Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh behind the glass. I'm Will Bowling. Robert with his peppered headphones for an hour that is frying your brain cells back there.
I'm also going to retire at the young age of 30. I apologize. I'm not making any more mistakes because I'm not going to attempt anything anymore. Don't work ahead, kids. Just wait until the last
Never
minute to
work
do
ahead.
everything.
So you beat out Corey Davis.
Yeah, you did.
Technically, he got out a little younger than I am, and he got out with $54 million, and I'm still working on the first one, so we'll figure it out.
Still working on the first one.
Still working on the first one. That was
Way to put
solid,
it.
Bert. Hey, players mess up, man. Everybody got a hot day, man. You just got hot ears and hot hands right now. That's all.
I'm just the good thing about this is I'm also in a soundproof studio, so as soon as I cut this microphone off, I'm just going to scream as loud as I can to get my rage out, and no one will be the wiser.
Yeah, that's true.
that.
We don't hear so you really just screamed.
Yeah, just
Okay.
as loud
Are
as
you
I could.
serious?
I'll give you a good one. Hold
Here
on.
we go. Robert is okay. I think I hear a little bit of it that time.
We kind of
We
heard
can
you
hear
that time.
Everyone in the hallway is probably disturbed.
That is so funny.
This man just screamed in the studio.
Well, I feel like we've got a bad habit that's being created by people in this building. Well, they'll keep the door open to their studio.
Yeah.
Come on. You wouldn't leave your front door open to your house.
And so you'll just
would
walk
not.
around one corner and it's like politics. Then you walk around another corner and it's R&B. Then another corner and it's country. And then Robert Walsh screaming.
There you go.
great.
Robert Walsh screaming.
Get you a station that can do them all.
That's
A
what
building
you
that
should
can
be
do 'em
doing.
all.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, yesterday, Will Levis returned to the practice field for the first time since last Thursday in Minnesota. And by all reports, looked pretty good. Kayla, what did you see from him yesterday?
Yeah, I saw a guy that didn't look really like he missed much of a beat, which is encouraging considering every single practice and game matters this time of year, especially in that type of situation. So I do just keep on being amazed at just when he throws a good ball, like, damn, it's pretty.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it and he had one of those. I think he had a touchdown
He did?
to Trayshawn Harrison.
Yep.
And you kind of heard everybody because there was a lot of alums there yesterday too. And just watching that, you're like, okay, we see what this guy could be, right? Like moments like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that he looked like he didn't really miss much. And I think that's because he'd been out there. Even when he couldn't play on Saturday, he was out there with the clipboard, like involved as much as he can in pregame warmups. So I think it was more so what we're thinking at this point, a precautionary thing. He has not been like told, or we have not been told that he's going to play for sure on Friday, but I would guess he is.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, will he get the first half by himself too?
Yeah.
Just as a way to kind of catch up a little bit. And what is that going to look like? And this is the other thing too. Will it be more run heavy like it has been the last couple games? Because those dudes up front need their work, but I do want to see those quarterbacks kind of drop back and throw the ball too, make those NFL passes, control that offense with their arm, legs if they have to also. It's going to be very fascinating to see what it looks like. And also, first time inside of the stadium with the new turf too as a team, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Same turf they practiced on yesterday inside the bubble at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. I'm curious if we maybe see a little more tempo for a drive or two. It feels like the tempo conversation we were having at the beginning of training camp is kind of gone by the wayside.
Discussing it or actually seeing it?
Discussing it.
Oh, discussing it. You think seeing it though too?
Well, I mean, I haven't been to practice. You all could speak more to that.
I thought you
feel
meant
like
game-wise.
I feel like we haven't really talked about it as much because we haven't seen it in the games.
Right.
That's all I can speak to. I haven't been to practice.
I will
Yeah,
say,
that's what I meant.
watching them do that pace, though, when I was out there, I hadn't been in about a week or two when it comes down to watching practice. But while watching it, it's fluid. It's not like this anything that they're shocked about. It's not anything that I'd say, well, man, they've made mistakes in doing those things. I think they got it underneath their belt. And rolling it out in the regular season is what's going to be most crucial. Watching Tannehill do that, going to the line, those check with me moments. And that's all it is essentially setting the defense so that you can have an advantage as an offensive team. And I think that's where this team needs to thrive a little bit more at, getting to the line of scrimmage, establishing the defense so that they can run what you want to. I used to love doing no huddle or just a pace offense to where the defense is on its heels. You get them tired out. Kind of like what on the college level, what Heupel is doing at Tennessee.
Yep.
You can predict a lot when you got a defense on its heels.
So maybe they do that, right? If they do put Tannehill in for a drive or so, maybe we see a little bit more of that utilizing that first offensive line and Tannehill. So be interesting to see.
Are we talking enough about Amani Hooker and the camp he's had?
We're not.
Guys had
No.
5 interceptions in 13 open practices, including 2 more yesterday, both against Ryan Tannehill. For all the grief we rightfully give John Robinson for some of his misses in the draft, I think sometimes we also still need to give him credit for many of the makes that he had on day 2 and 3 of the NFL draft, namely Amani Hooker, who may be at the top of that list as the guy who is really the antithesis of all of the Titans' problems under J-Rob. He's a guy that panned out after being picked after the first round and got a second contract with the team, which hasn't happened nearly enough. He is the model of what the Titans need to lean into a lot more. I think that guy's, if he could stay healthy and gets a little bit of help and continuity in front of him in the cornerback position, I think you should expect big things from Monty Hooker with the camp he's had.
That's one thing we spoke about off air a little bit. We was, furthering the discussion with Brock Purdy is how do you find these guys? What do they look like in college? What is their stat line? How often were they available? And I think that's one thing that Vrabel brought up yesterday in his presser, speaking about Amani Hooker, was, look, we knew this guy could play ball.
Went to Iowa.
We saw him play ball. All those things that he's doing now, he's done it before. It's an idea. It's a matter of him staying on the field, and I think that's why they paid him early. Because if you paid him later than what he got paid, and it'd probably be one of those situations where, man, you can't afford to anymore. So I was glad to kind of see that, and just the acknowledgement from Vrabel's side, because coaches don't do that mostly. If you're injured, they just look to criticize you more than anything. But his situation has been just keeping him on the field, and I'm kind of excited on what he's going to be able to do this year, considering the camp that he's had, man.
And I think Amani, he comes from an incredible Iowa program that produces especially defensive players at a high rate, right? Where they really learn a lot there and they're pro ready. And that's why you see a lot of these defensive players go into NFL and have success from that program. But, even when he came here, he immediately connected with Kevin Byard and learned a lot from Kevin Byard as well, was his training partner. They did a lot, leading up to the season. And last year, the availability was an issue, but I would say it was maybe a little bit more different than some of these other guys we've seen. I think his was more of a freak of, luck because he had the concussion. I think he had like a shoulder or something. So there was a whole bunch of kind of different ones, but point in case he was not available.
Right.
But now, like, coming back and having a strong camp and showing like I'm not going to let that dwell, and I'm going to get out here and do my job. I think that's huge because now you got two safeties back there that are pretty damn good.
Knee injury and shoulder injury last season for Amani Hooker, who had 46 tackles and 1 pick across 9 games.
Yep. I think he was out for a couple games with a concussion, too.
And foot in 2021. He was out from week 1 until week 6.
Right. Are those like more freak injuries? Would you
just
say?
the game. Yeah. Just the game in itself. Also coming out of college, he was a Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year in 2018. The guy logged 65 tackles, 4 interception, and a sack. Playmaking ability is there.
6 career interceptions, 5 in training camp this season. And coming up next, we'll get into that with Coach Dave McGinnis, who joins us for his weekly visit on the show, talking about Ryan Tannehill, Caleb Murphy, Julius Chestnut. 3 guys I want to know more about going into the final preseason game, all for very different reasons. Coming up next with Titans Radio's head coach.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And I'm here to tell you guys, I've used every single one of those divisions of their business, okay? From plumbing to heating and cooling to electrical. It's a company that I trust, and they guarantee 100% satisfaction, man. One of the best things that I love about Hiller is just the true transparency pricing. They have no hidden fees, no added costs, no surprises when you get your bill. Everything is itemized and explained up front, so you know what you're paying for and why. It only suggests them, okay, if they only suggest repairs if you absolutely need them. There will be no, hey, I see this, hey, I see that. No, absolutely. It's been times where they've actually saved me money because they say, hey, nah, you don't really need to pay for that. And you know what that does? They help you gain their trust further and further. They're family-owned and operated and have been in business since 1990. If you are having some issues at your house with your plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical, reach out to Hiller at happyhiller.com. The proud sponsors of your Vols, Titans, MTSU, Vanderbilt, and the Predators. happyhiller.com.
Continuing your Thursday morning right here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And you know that music only means one thing. It's time to talk to Titans Radio's head coach. Coach Tay McGinnis is presented by Two Rivers Ford, Middle Tennessee's most trusted local Ford dealership for 40 years. What's up, Coach Mack? How are you?
Hey, well, good morning, guys. You just mentioned Two Rivers Ford. I used their mobile service for the last couple of days. Those people are amazing. Let me just say that to begin with. And I know that you guys appreciate Two Rivers Ford a lot, but I've experienced it firsthand. You talk about people that understand service to their customers. They were outstanding. Outstanding. Okay, let's go.
Absolutely. Love it. Coach Mack, what is the biggest variable you have to consider as a coach when deciding if a player needs or doesn't need to play in the final preseason game? And how does that process look specifically for Ryan Tannehill tomorrow when the Titans play the Patriots?
Well, first of all, it's health. Second of all, it's how much work they have gotten, from OTAs on until this point. If they've been available every day, a veteran player has been available every day and has been working. You've got to balance that against how much work, because in a game, what are you going to get? Maybe 60 snaps if you play from stem to stern in it. You've got to balance as to how much difference that really does make for a veteran player that has been available the entire time. If you've got a veteran player that hasn't been available, from the OTAs on, and is working back from an injury or just for some other reason has not been readily there every day, well, then you start to consider, how much they would need against an opponent. The fact that they worked out against Minnesota for 2 really hard days up there, for those of us that went up there for the whole time and saw the quality of work that they have, that balances it out a lot too. But every situation is individually different. You can't throw a blanket over it and just make a blanket statement, about who has to play what. But those are discussions, Will, that really are you go deep into the day talking about it at this time of year, especially with your veteran players, and especially now since you've only got 3 preseason games. But it has to entail the entire body of participation and work that the particular player you're talking about has had from the spring on.
Coach Mack, Harold Landry spoke about that the other day, about the luxury of maybe getting to tackle somebody at full speed and full contact for the first time, considering the nature of his injury last year. How big of a difference could that make for a guy like him then, who is on the other side of this conversation, like you mentioned, who was not available due to the torn ACL last season and finds himself in a different spot than a guy like Tannehill?
Yeah, well, it's not going to make or break his career,
right?
Whether he does it or not. But if he wants to, and if the coaches deem that they want him to do that, and he wants to do it, well then there's no harm in it. But it's not like it's a make or break decision at this point when you're facing a 17-game season.
Coach Mack, when you look at this squad or this camp that the Titans have had so far, I know coaches do love this because it makes them do their job, and they love doing that. But a few guys have made decisions hard for coaches. And I want to go Julius Chestnut being one of those guys. Monty Rice being in that conversation. Chance Campbell, Dr. Gibby, man. They've had good camps, Coach, as far as making the decision to be starters or make this team. How do you view that in the coaching room?
Yeah, Ramon, and those guys that you just mentioned, the one that has not made it hard right now is Monty Rice. He hadn't been out there. Okay? I mean, if you're not out there present and doing things, and you've got other people pressing for your position, I mean, you've been in that situation before, knowing that you need to be there to be considered, correct?
Yeah.
Now, the other guys that you've mentioned have been out there every day and have been working and have gotten a chance to showcase themselves and to do some things. So I think Monty Rice is separate from those other guys because he's missed a lot of time. And when you miss time, I mean, this league is about 2 things. It's about production, but it's also about availability, because you can't produce if you're not available. And so I think we're talking about, 2 distinct different things from those other 3 to Monty Rice, because Monty Rice has missed some valuable time.
Yes, he has, Coach. But I'll tell you this, though, this quarterback competition, the backup quarterback competition, at the conclusion of what training camp is, they still got practice. Both of these guys have made significant strides as far as what you're capable of seeing out of them, with Malik staying in the pocket. Speak about those things as far as a team that hadn't really kept, 3 quarterbacks, may be forced to do that this year, Coach Mack.
Well, I don't think it's forced to. I think they're going to be allowed to this time because you've got 2 viable young players, behind a very definite starter in Ryan Tannehill. And look, Malik Willis has done exactly what I think everyone concerned with this football program hoped that he would do. Is he took it to heart what he did not know from last year, which was very evident, and you could see it. But I've said this about Malik Willis from the start. I mean, he has worked at it ever since he's shown up here. He's always been he has impressed me that he's been the first guy out, at every practice I've ever been to, which I've been to all of them. He's the first guy out. He works. He tries to absorb. He just had a long way to go coming from the base that he came from as far as translating to playing viable quarterback in the National Football League. So Malik Willis has done it. Now, he's still not a finished product. Let's understand that. But the strides that he's made, as opposed to now Will Levis, came from a little bit more advanced program as far as quarterback play because of the offensive systems that he was in the Southeastern Conference, for 2 years. But to me, I mean, this is a luxury now for this football team, and there are going to be teams across the league keeping 3 quarterbacks. But Malik Willis at this point, and at this juncture where we're talking right now this morning at 7:28 a.m., he's ahead of Will Levis just because he's had a year in this league, and also he's been available the whole time. And really, so has Will Levis, except for when he got the little tweak up there in Minnesota. He's been having a good camp. There's just a lot to learn at that position, and I hope that our listeners are starting to understand that refrain is not you're not making excuses. This is reality of playing that position in the National Football League.
Coach, when you look inside the wide receiver room, some unfortunate, injuries with Treylon Burks, who should be back in a few weeks, but Kyle Phillips, who wanted to stay healthy by all means, probably out for at least 6 weeks, and you're looking at that as a punt returning position too. So enters the names like Kearis Jackson, who are battling for a spot on this roster. He was back at practice yesterday. What does he need to do to lock up a spot, since he is valuable on special teams as well?
He's got to be consistent, Caleb. Let's go to Phillips for a minute. I mean, he could do nothing about that injury, right?
Yeah.
He's returning a punt. The single gunner gets down on him, gets a full run at him, and then whacks him in the knee when he's stationary. As he catches the football. I mean, that was a violent collision because the gunner that came down and made that tackle also suffered a concussion. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you got a guy that's running 40 yards that hits you full speed when you're standing there looking up in the air and catching a punt. So he couldn't do anything about that. Nope. I mean, that's one of those things you look at and you say, what the hell? All right.
Yeah.
Now, what has to happen is anybody else. You mentioned Kearis Jackson. He's got to be consistent when he's available. He has to be consistent because when you're trying to work your way up the rope ladder of a National Football League roster, you've got to be consistent every day. You cannot be a roller coaster player when you're working your way up. And so consistency is what they're looking for from him. And believe me, every rep that he's taking has been scrutinized very, very closely on tape because this is really, you talk about every day being an interview. This is intense interview time now for several players on this team because I in my humble opinion, I think there's probably 4 or 5 open spots, for someone to make a 53 on this team, but consistency and availability are the mainstays for these guys right now that are trying to get those 4 or 5 spots, and he's one of them.
And Coach, I would say on the other side of the ball, another name that has really been, you're talking about consistency in camp, consistency in preseason games. We're talking about the DB, Eric Guerrero. How much can you say, he's done in terms of solidifying a spot on this roster? Because I feel like he's kind of been that consistent force.
Well, he has, and he every time he's gotten a chance, he's done something. Now, what you've got to look at is this is a tryout player. that you brought in, for a tryout and showed enough to the coaching staff and to the personnel staff that we need to keep this guy around at least during camp to see what he can do. But when he's gotten a chance to do it with the lights on, he's shown up and he's done it. Now, what you have to decide is this, Kayla.
Okay.
When you get down to making your choices for your initial 53, and believe me, the initial 53, and I know I want our listeners to understand this, the first week is not your final 53 for the second week. I mean, that's just the way it is in the National Football League. First of all, you're going to have so many players that you've got one cut down date, so you multiply the number of players that are going to be released times 32. That's how many players are going to flood, this market. As soon as this final preseason game is over with. So there are other people out there that all of these personnel departments are looking at to fill in, to bring in that they may want to develop, for some reason or the other than the guys that are already there. So what you have to decide with a player like this is, if you do initially cut him, is there anybody else that is going to take him and place him on their initial 53?
Sure.
Because remember, if somebody's claimed off of waivers that you release in this first massive release, and a team takes them, they have to put them on their 53. They can't take them and put them on their practice squad.
Yep.
All of those things come into consideration. So you ask me about what he's done. He's done nothing but enhance his value, at least to this team, with the chance that he was given, a chance with. And, probably a guy that you would like to have around. I don't know whether you could have him back on your initial 53 or not. That's a decision for the coaches and the personnel staff. But do know this, just because the final 53 is set, then you'll bring back 16 people. So that makes it 69. So these players, even that are released and put back on the practice squad, their careers are not over. They're just starting.
100%.
Coach Mack, when you look at a guy like Julius Chestnut, what has he done this offseason to improve? And, the run he had over the weekend was an impressive one. How unique is his skill set, and where has he improved the most this offseason?
Well, he's gotten more. He's gotten strength. Look, this guy made the team last year because of the same thing. He's a runner. He's got a little shake to him, but he's also a strong runner, and he's an instinctive runner. So guys like this that have kind of a breakthrough, their first season and are able to make a squad, but then come back after the off season and show that they've not only maintained what made them interesting the first year, but they've improved upon that. He's a nice football player. To me, Chestnut is one of those guys. When you get into a National Football League camp, you have done something in your collegiate career to stand out from a lot of the others, because it's a small percentage that come in here. Let's just say that. It's a small percentage that get into this league to begin with, but he has managed to carve himself out a niche, on this team last year, and I think he's doing the same thing this year.
Coach Mack, what is Caleb Murphy's skill set that projects well to the next level? What has made him such a good fit here with the 2 sacks over the weekend as he fights for maybe one of those 4 or 5 open spots?
Well, you're talking about a guy from Ferris State that had incredible sack numbers, where he played collegiately. And I don't care whether you're playing at Ferris State, whether you're playing at Ferris Wheel, whether you're playing at Ferris Sale. I don't care. If you get to the quarterback that many times, you're going to open some eyes. People looking at you. He's got an innate ability to be able to close and get to the quarterback. And he's got length, and he's got a frame that you can add NFL weight on. And so he's got a unique skill set. He really does. He was an interesting player, coming in here. Again, I'm going to give my esteemed partner in the draft, Rhett Bryan, a lot of credit. His 2 favorite guys that we looked at, we look at guys from top to bottom to 300. His 2 favorite are Ty J. Spears and Caleb Murphy. He had a pretty good eye for those 2. And those guys, especially Murphy, he's taken advantage of the chances that he has gotten in the game. I see him as a player kind of along the lines of what we've experienced with Rashad Weaver here, that in the off season and during the season with the football team needs to get married to that iron room and get as close to Frank Perino as he can, because he's got a frame that you can add real NFL body weight and strength on. But that innate ability to close and get to a quarterback, he's going to always have that. I like what he's done for himself this camp.
Coach Mack, how smart was it, considering the Patriots had to back out of the joint practices, to have a blue and white scrimmage, to get that last week push as far as getting some competition out of your guys in camp?
Guys, you guys know this, and our listeners, on this radio station are sophisticated listeners. I get a chance to be around them a lot. Rhett and I had a speaking engagement that we were able to engage with a lot of fans this week. Look, Mike Vrabel gets the National Football League. And when I say gets, I mean gets with a capital G from top to bottom. He understands players. He understands players' mindsets. He understands how an organization works. He understands how the league works from the league office on down. I mean, he's one of the premier guys now in this competition committee that understands the guts of what the National Football League tone and timber and rules are. That was just another example of it. It was another example of it. And rather than say, oh, wow, they couldn't come. I've had this plan together. Now they couldn't come. What are we going to do? It was brilliant. I mean, just because of the fact I was so fortunate to work for a guy that got the league at every aspect and learned from him when I first started, when I was brand new, and Mike Ditka. Mike Vrabel gets the league. He gets the league. And so that was just another example of it. The fact that he did that, there was a lot of juice at that practice. Mm-hmm. You guys were there at the practice yesterday inside the bubble. There was a lot of juice there. So he has done what you need to do, is keep your players on edge, but also involved and looking forward to coming out and working every day, because that's the key to being a coach in this league. I stood yesterday for 2 hours with Dean Pease.
Yes.
He and I stood for 2 hours together in the bubble on the opposite side of the field. And, Dean was a tremendous coordinator in this league for 18 years. He started out as a linebacker coach. I was in the league alone. I mean, this is a great, great conversation. Within that, we both agreed that Mike Vrabel, is one of the most astute, young head football coaches in the National Football League at this point. And believe me, we both know, because you had with Dean and I standing there, you've got nearly 60 years of experience standing there in this league coaching defense. So to your point, it was another really, really insightful move by him, and it's going to pay off.
Coach Mack always bringing it with us here Thursday mornings on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. You can hear him, Ramon Foster, the rest of the Titans radio crew, voice the Titans, Mike Keith, Rhett Bryan, of course, tomorrow night as the Titans take on the Patriots. Coach, we're excited about some Friday night lights for the Titans. Looking forward to listening tomorrow.
Got some Friday night lights. That's a great way to put it. Guys, always enjoy starting off this morning with you guys every week. See you.
Yes, sir.
Coach.
There's Coach Tay McGinnis with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford here on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up, Kevin Stefanski has a fascinating way to punish players in training camp. We'll tell you what that is coming up next.
People here know Genesis Diamonds as the value leader. They've proven it. You know why? Genesis is a true direct importer with connections that go back for 50-plus years. No middleman markups, no consignment fees, no third-party people to pay. But one thing people here really love about Genesis is this is where you can get her a better ring, a designer ring, a handcrafted ring that reflects how you see her. While other stores sell knockoff rings or crappy overseas rings, at Genesis, you can get her a stunning designer ring made here in America by top designers. These are rings made to last. Names like Tacori and Verragio and dozens more. Bottom line, she will proudly show off a Genesis ring because it won't be mass-produced. It will be something unique, something amazing. And don't worry about the price either. Genesis will make sure you get a designer ring that fits your budget with the diamond that she'll love. That's what Genesis specializes in, combining the best diamond value with the best quality ring to give you the total package with the free lifetime warranty as well. Genesis Diamond, where luxury and value come together every day. Check them out in Green Hills and Cool Springs. And don't forget about the all-new collection of amazing luxury pre-owned Rolex watches. They are incredible.
Wrapping up hour number 2 on your Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And coming up in 15 minutes, the career earnings of a recently retired wide receiver may surprise you. Yes, that recently retired wide receiver may or may not be a former Tennessee Titan as well. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. Guys, this from Albert Breer this week on Kevin Stefanski's ways to punish players in camp. This is interesting because part of me loves this and part of me hates this. So, head coach Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland has a rule that if there are fights at practice involving a starter, that starter now has to play in the upcoming preseason game. If you have a fight in camp by a backup fighting for a roster spot, that player cannot play in the upcoming preseason game, losing a big opportunity to prove themselves. How do we feel about this?
I like it.
Really?
I do.
I did not expect that from you.
Yeah, I like that.
I thought you'd hate this.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
You got to be a smart player also. And I'll just leave you have to be smart about what you're trying to accomplish. I get it. Yes, it gets testy. But think about the rules he's laid out. He's asking you to be smart as a player.
Mm-hmm. I think it would work. It's always when you're dealing with something like that, and these are opportunities for these rookies, the only opportunities to prove themselves in a preseason game. When you just immediately hear that, it's like, that's kind of weird, because wouldn't they want no matter what to see what these guys have, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are battling for roster spots. But I guess that's the point of putting out something like this, because unless you just get caught up in a situation where it does happen sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where you get a little feisty or whatever. I mean, we're talking fights. There's ways to pull back from something like that. So I guess it's probably something that would work if it triggered me that much to be like, you're going to give up like not playing in a preseason game and getting a chance to get stuff on tape and just to try to make this roster?
Yeah.
So,
and I think the way he phrased it too, like the dude's like, I know you're going to make the team.
Right.
Guess what? You got to play in the game. You got to get extra reps.
Sure.
You know what I love about it?
What's that?
He's going to Tom Coughlin run it into the ground. We'll see you week 3 by the lake, September 24th. Deuces.
There's an ambush from the one and only Red Bryant.
I love it, man.
I tend to agree with Red. I think everyone deserves a strike on things like this, because I would rather tell a player to calm down versus be more excited and more on edge. If you've got a little bit of jawing, if you got to send somebody to the sand pit a little bit in practice, I think that's a good thing. Like what happens if Jeffrey Simmons gets in that little scuffle he does with Jamarco Jones at the beginning of camp? Then he has to play in the first preseason game, and he ends up hurting his knee, and he's out for 6 weeks. Then we're having a very different conversation about how stupid of a decision that is, just because Jeffrey Simmons got in a fight. That doesn't mean he deserves to get put in harm's way and potentially miss actual games that matter. Now, if he does it a second time, okay, then that's on you then. The burden of proof is on you to not fight. Then you're not going to put yourself in harm's way. But I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a quick trigger from Stefanski to put starters in meaningless games for something like that.
You don't make me sad, and I'm going to say it anyway.
What's that?
It's the Browns.
Well, yeah.
They've always got to figure out ways to do smart things. Like, this is one of those things where I'm just like, he's acknowledging his team find ways to lose games in very stupid ways. And this is the way I kind of look at them, like, this may actually make them grow up and understand, it's like, oh, fighting doesn't prove I'm a tough guy. Oh, I may have to actually do some extra work or lose out on some reps if I fight in practice. Like, that's the way I kind of look at it. They have one of the most talented rosters out always, but they never find ways to win.
Right.
They're forcing them to actually think. And you know what? I hope it doesn't translate over into the field, because I'm not a Browns fan, and y'all know that.
I'll tell you one thing. If I was a middle-of-the-road second-string guy, I'd be getting in a fight every week. I'm already making the roster. If I'm the backup safety, I'm getting in a fight. I don't want to play in these games anyway. I know I'm making the roster, coach. I'm going to get in a fight every day.
Chestnut checkers.
Yeah.
Think I'm going to go out there and get hurt and ruin my backup spot on the bench? Hell no.
Plus, the burden of proof for what a fight is has to be really high.
Yes.
Like what Jamarco Jones and Jeffrey Simmons got into, I don't constitute as a fight.
Me either.
More just to like a little pushing and shoving, little schoolgirl scuffle.
If
Right.
somebody swings, it's a fight, though.
Exactly.
And it should go on the person that swings first. Because if you swing on me, I'm definitely going to swing back on you.
What if
Well-
they swing and miss?
Okay, that's still a fight. I'm sorry. That's
That'd be strike
intent.
one.
Intent is 9/10 of the law. You play. You, sir, are playing in the preseason game.
I think if you're dumb enough to try to hit someone with a closed fist who's wearing a helmet, natural selection should just get you out of the league soon anyway.
It should.
I mean, but anyway,
Grab that face mask.
that's one of the dumbest things that people consistently do in sports is try to punch someone who literally has head protection.
Michael Parsons did it.
Yeah.
That would hurt.
It's odd to me why no one goes for the jugular. Man, I'd be Judy chopping people's throats. Come on, man. You want to mess with me?
Yeah.
I'm talking
just Judy chop you real
I went
quick.
for the soft underbelly every single time.
Oh, that would
I'm talking
hurt.
about underneath that face mask, that chin area.
Oh,
I'm
I thought
punching
you
in the
meant the
rib.
underbelly.
Oh, well, I hit that too. That's what
Miles,
I'm telling
RJ,
you.
if you're listening, Ramon never got in fights.
Yeah, I know. Dad, I'd tell him, you walk across them lines, you better become a savage.
Never mind.
Don't tell my kids
Dad
that.
got in fights.
No, Dad got in fights.
Oh, my gosh.
You damn right.
Right?
You hear me? You doggone right. Well, you better
Respect.
grab that face mask and get busy. Worry
Yeah.
about that afterwards.
That's why I never want to play basketball because I would be fouling out,
Goodness
elbowing
sakes.
every single time.
nah,
I wouldn't be able to control it.
Oh, y'all knew I was throwing my skinny, bony elbows around as a
right.
cross-country runner.
Yeah, there's
Just
an
bow.
edge to
They're
this.
deadly.
Yeah. Come on now.
Coming up, the career earnings for Corey Davis might surprise you as the 28-year-old takes it to the house after stints here in Tennessee and as well in New York. Coming up as Hour 3 begins next.
Hey, it's Ramon and Kayla with Window Nation. Have you stepped outside today? Well, you might want to go back in and, you're probably going to keep pumping up that AC because it is hot out there and it's going to continue for the next few weeks at least. And that means your AC is pumping into overdrive and that is leading to sky-high energy bills. So we're here to give you a solution. You're welcome. Yeah, our friends at Window Nation, they are going to let you save thousands today with no money down, no payments, no interest for 2 full years. And plus, why not add something to it? 50% off all styles of windows that they have. They've got a great variety, bows, bays, double hung, and any style really that you want. They have. You can protect and increase the value of your home today. Don't wait. Check them out at windownation.com.
Man, I saw somebody the other day getting new windows in their house, and I was thinking to myself, I hope those are Window Nation windows, okay? Because 96% of them require no follow-up service, which means they get it right the first times, more times than not, because the average installer install over 200,000 windows themselves. As Kayla just told you guys, the number is 866-90-NATION. Go online to windownation.com and be sure to tell them that Ramon and Kayla sent you.
Good morning, 8 o'clock, right on the dot, 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Former Titans wide receiver Corey Davis informed the Jets yesterday that he plans on retiring from the NFL at the age of 28. Over 6 seasons, Davis caught 273 passes, 3,879 yards, and 17 touchdowns. In his final year in Tennessee, it was one of the best of his career, where he had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Jets will clear another $10 million with Davis retiring on the salary cap. The 49ers made a decision to add backup quarterback, and it is a first-round pick, but it is not Trey Lance. It is Sam Darnold backing up Brock Purdy in San Francisco, leaving Trey Lance in the doghouse. He wasn't spotted at practice yesterday, but head coach Kyle Shanahan said he will play in the final preseason game against the Chargers. And to the Colts, as they have given Jonathan Taylor until Tuesday to find a suitable trade partner after authorizing the star running back to seek a trade on his own. 6 teams have inquired about Taylor's availability, and 2 others have made offers, per NFL reporter Stephen Holder. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
The second half of the show starts now on your Thursday morning. Welcome into Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors right here on a humid, muggy Thursday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. If you've been outside doing anything active for the last hour, 2 hours, odds are it feels like you're being suffocated by a pillow. But that's okay, because we're still rocking and rolling. Smiles on our faces, talking football with you. Ramon Foster is here. Kayla Anderson as well. Robert Walsh, our producer. And my name is Will Bowling. We've got some Titans tickets to give away for tomorrow's Friday night matchup with the New England Patriots. We've got that coming up in 10 minutes, so don't go anywhere.
No doubt.
If you want to go to Nissan Stadium tomorrow night.
I think my week's messed up because of tomorrow's pregame.
Sure.
Or preseason game, because I keep on thinking it is Saturday. That game is on Saturday.
Oh.
And so I'm like a day ahead or something. I don't know what it is. I thought yesterday was Friday.
Nah, this heat didn't. I knew today was gonna be a steamer today, so I knew Thursday was gonna be today, so I'm prepared on
You
this
were
one,
ready.
Kelly. Yeah, I was telling you guys, we can see a lot of people walking up and down the street
Right.
where we are, where the studio
That's
is.
right.
It looked like a lady had just finished working out, and she had like sweat on her. She was walking, stumbling. I'm like, home girl,
Yeah.
please have a water cup on you because it is necessary in today's climate.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you guys had seen the picture. I should have taken a picture on Saturday before the Nashville SC Inter Miami game because it was 95 degrees and I had to walk up those big stairs to get to Geodis Park, and I had my suit on.
Oof.
And it was a Bruce Pearl sweating through the shirt moment for me.
Oof.
The entire back of my shirt, transparent.
Yeah.
And most of the front of it. I had to turn our booth on 63 degrees. And thankfully, in a brand new stadium, that AC got to 63 pretty quickly. And we sat there in the freezing cold, and it felt so great. And eventually, I was fine. But genuinely, like I felt like Bruce Pearl shedding the jacket, yelling at Ted Valentine.
And Will, that was just your walk to the booth.
That's right.
I was wondering genuinely for Ramon's sake tomorrow,
Yeah.
what has he pre-planned for his sideline outfit? Because I pre-planned mine for just the few things I'm doing down there, like a short suit
Yeah.
kind of thing. So now I'm curious as to what you have pre-planned, because I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
for tomorrow's heat on the sideline.
It's got to be Hoochie Daddies. It's essentially
What is
I'm
that?
on. Short shorts. I'm going in the Bucks closet is what I'm telling you.
With the jean pockets hanging out.
Yeah. Exactly, with some white boots on too, Caleb.
You need a pink cowboy hat that lights up when you press a button.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
I'm
Those
picturing
Hoochie
this
shorts,
right now.
I think they're the move.
They are.
I think that's where we need to be at as a society.
Is that where we need to be?
Skies
at,
out,
Bert?
thighs out.
I'm telling you, the most flattering part of my body is my calves. So the only way to highlight highlight that is to put enough area around it where you're like, all right, I don't want to go that high, but I would go that low, and then they'll gaze at them. You know what I mean?
This is a generational gap thing because people who were in high school or college when the long baggy shorts were a thing, Ramon Foster's raising his hand, audio medium.
That's me.
Still wear those predominantly. I think you have a good happy medium, Ramon, because you have some of the shorter shorts,
Right.
but also some of the longer ones. I was young enough when the long, basically capri basketball shorts were a thing that I outlived that. And then when I got to college, a couple minutes ago, the shorter shorts were in style then. I don't know where that gap starts, like age 32, 33. I have no idea.
Did you have a pair of Jinkos, Ramon?
Oh,
Jinkos?
God.
As far
What
as
are
like
those?
the style brands or like
Either one. Did you have that
Baggy.
style of the baggy
oh
pants?
yeah, 100%.
Just a
100%.
I remember being
definitely.
so embarrassed as a kid if you had shorts on that didn't go below your knees.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like,
yeah.
I can't walk outside in these. Like, I know we got these at Target
Right.
for 2 for $20. I cannot walk outside in these shorts. They don't go below my knees. And now it's the opposite. I cannot walk outside with shorts below my knees.
Did y'all used to have a dress code where if your
Yeah.
shorts were not like
Yep.
below your fingertips,
Yep.
they sent you home, or they gave you a pair of like bright canary yellow shorts to wear?
That was the thing in high school.
We
yeah.
got a
Oh
warning.
yeah, we had that
And
too.
middle school.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it comes down to too, is just right. Like maybe you like shorts. Like maybe that's comfortable to you. I personally can't go there. Like I like that mid-range, but some people like them short, and maybe the less clothes, the more comfortable. I seem to think the less tight and short, the best.
You know what I had to do? I went to their website, Jinko. They're
Oh,
still
gosh.
in business.
I've never even heard of this.
JNCO, Will. Go
Oh,
look
okay.
them
Wait,
up, bro.
is like Massimo and Stussy still in business too?
They might be. There's some jeans on here right now, $280.
From Janko?
Yes.
They're vintage at this point.
That's
Yeah, I was gonna say.
crazy.
No, serious. And they're actually coming back in style. A new fashion
Of course
trend,
they
too,
are.
is like these super long pants that you ball up and bunch up
Yeah.
around your shoe.
I've got some.
What is that all like? No, I'm talking
Parachute
about like
pants.
no, not parachutes. These are like skinnies, but like you ball them up around your shoe, so you got like excess around the ankle. Look them up. It's a
Oh.
hot, yeah, it's a
So-
that is the new trend right now.
So it's opposite then. They're
It's just
they're
extra
skinny
long.
than baggy.
Skinny long pants is what they are. Yeah, no, serious. They're selling them they're like 48-inch inseams or something.
What?
Yeah, serious.
Shorts should never touch
Weird.
your knee if you were a male, ever.
I don't agree with that one.
Ever.
No, like, no.
Not in 2023.
What
Not
if
in
you have
2023.
ugly knees, which does happen?
tough.
I
That's
used to
tough for
struggle
women,
from that.
too.
I've never thought ever to think about what someone's knees look like.
Oh, me.
Never in my life.
Oh God.
I didn't know knees looked different. I
Caleb
thought
be
every knee was
judging.
the
I was
same.
called spider legs growing up
No way.
because I had big old
What?
knees and skinny legs, and it's haunted me the rest of my life.
Oh.
I'm serious.
Dang, the
I just
kids are
started wearing
ruthless.
shorts again.
That's
I
really
wouldn't
weird.
even wear shorts.
I've
Spider,
never.
I wouldn't worry about.
Hey,
I mean,
just being
Kayla,
honest. I'm just being me on this show.
Maybe I'm
That's
just.
the thing.
Maybe I'm just not an observant person.
Jeez.
I have never thought about that feature on a human being ever in my
It's
life.
weird. It was like high school.
They called you spider legs?
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta go beat them up now.
Oh, well, I beat him up with my one
gotta
hand
go.
today.
We gotta go fight them now, man. That's
Little
the
did they
only,
know I'd turn into this. but-
only thing we got for them. Yeah, look at my legs now.
Yeah.
No, don't look at my legs
Like,
now.
come on.
Absolutely.
I'm wearing shorts
absolutely
now.
Not. Yes.
Huh.
You said you just started wearing shorts.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
crazy.
serious.
That is one
Uh-huh.
thing though that I cannot do in broadcasts is I had a mentor in minor league baseball in 2018 tell me, you're not good enough to wear shorts while you call games. He was like, you haven't been doing this long enough. You're not good enough to.
what is that gatekeeping? What does that even mean?
He would say, is my boss with the Tennessee Smokies. He'd be like, I've done this long enough where I can feel casual enough to wear shorts while I broadcast. You haven't been doing this long enough to dress casually, but broadcast formally. And I still live by that.
I probably would have got hot at him and told him, buddy, you're calling a Smokies game. You're not calling the Braves.
Mick is awesome. He does a really good job.
That's really
It's because he's wearing
interesting.
shorts.
But I
he's
still-
trying to gatekeep
Well,
it from
that's
you.
true.
That's why he does a great job.
He'd show up to the booth in like shorts and flip flops, and he'd be like, "Hey, like tuck your shirt in by the way to your khakis. Like we gotta."
Wow.
And that's legit. Like I feel like for people that are younger and making their way into this business or any other, you got to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. In that context, Now, this show, when you're just rolling out of bed and just hopping
Right.
straight in the car.
I got a
We're a little
buddy.
You
more
should
casual
see what we
here.
look like on the show.
Man,
You
what?
can on the F&M Bank
maybe
chat.
you do. Yeah.
I got a buddy of mine said his son just told him, Dad, you dress like Adam Sandler. Like there is the hair out there. Adam Sandler's big jeans,
Is that
big
a
big polo
compliment
shirt.
or
No, it wasn't a
not?
compliment at all. Ali dogged his dad out this morning, man. Can you imagine? We don't dress like Adam Sandler here, though.
Oh, of course not.
Oh no! I mean, we've got if we're doing like low key day, we're
Yeah.
still fashionable for
Fashionable.
a little bit at least.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Right, for a little bit.
Just for a little bit.
Don Davenport has chimed in and says, bowling, your shorts are too short. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
That's so funny.
She put a lot of O's on that.
She did put a lot of O's in
She
there.
did.
Don, my new kickball teammate.
Yeah.
How's that going?
When do y'all
Oh,
start?
I don't know. I don't know when we start or any of the logistics.
Oh, the good thing is you'll get to see everybody's knees, though.
Exactly.
Everyone's knees on the team.
Did not
There
need
you
that,
go.
but I'll get it anyway.
I bet Slay's got some good-looking knees, man. Anybody that smells that good has got to have some
Gotta
good-looking
have
knees.
good
Sure.
knees. You're 100% correct on that one. I tell you this though, he is flat-footed as ever though.
That's
His
what I
knees are
remember
in
you
good.
saying.
Yeah, he's flat-footed.
He's still
I
6'8" in the process.
Stop, Will. It's not no freaking. Now I'm gonna get a text from him and be like, "Well, it's genetic, and you might be flat-footed too." So you're right. I'm gonna get
You
a
might
text.
be.
Yeah, he's not 6'8".
You're lucky he ain't got arches. He might be 6'9".
That's true.
Oh my God.
That's a good point.
Ooh.
That's a great point.
Why are y'all doing this to him, man?
Has he
We
ever
didn't
worn
used to be like this.
platforms?
We
Maybe
used to
then
be
he'd
better
be
than this.
7 foot.
I think he is putting those orthotics that are the bigger orthotics in his shoes is what he's got going on right now to get him to 6'8".
Okay.
6'8". I can't believe y'all buying into this.
Corey Davis walks away with $52.5 million of career earnings to pay off the tease we gave before the third hour began.
Oh yeah,
It's not bad.
So he can buy all the orthotics he wants.
he can get all the orthotics and a peace of mind too.
Ooh, now Don says Slay has skinny little legs.
He does.
Wow.
He
Does
does.
Slay admit that?
Yeah, nah, he
He
know
does.
he got little. Yeah, he know he got little legs.
And he's lost a lot of weight,
I
so
abstain.
Oh, he's got really
From
skinny
criticizing.
legs
even
now.
more slender.
Yeah.
We've got some Titans tickets to give away. Titans Ticket Thursday has returned, Titans fans. Be caller number 5 right now to win tickets to see your Tennessee Titans host the New England Patriots tomorrow night at Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1045. That's how you jump in. Caller number 5 right now wins tickets to see your Tennessee Titans tomorrow facing the New England Patriots. 615-737-1045. Coming up, Titans headlines and AFC South storylines with Ben Arthur from Fox Sports. Who does he trust more going into week 1? Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud? That and more next with Ben Arthur on RKW.
It's Ramon Foster from myphdweightloss.com, here to tell you how we were just speaking about skinny legs and knees and stuff like that. Well, if you've been thinking about not even just getting skinny, but just getting yourself back together where you feel comfortable with yourself, you should go to myphdweightloss.com simply because it's not a matter of it being 5 pounds or too much weight. It can be 50, 100 pounds if you want it to be. They have a plan in place to help you get there. On average, most female clients lose 2 to 3 pounds a week, and most male clients lose between 3 to 5 pounds a week. And it's not just you on a solo mission by yourself. You have a weekly call with your coach. Yes, a coach to talk through how your week has gone, what decisions did you make, what tweaks do you have to have when it comes down to you losing those pounds. And again, it's on average. 1 week it may be 1 pound, the next week it may be 5 pounds, but guess what? There will be a steady decline. If there's something you've been thinking about and wanting to get yourself together, I can't tell you enough. Visit myphdweightloss.com. It's worked for me. It's worked for Buck. It's worked for others who's jumped into this boat and say, you know what? I'm taking control. Myphdweightloss.com. And be sure to tell them that Ramon sent you.
We got what you need on a Thursday morning of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. The whole crew in studio. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Robert Walsh making the show happen. I'm Will Bowling, and joining us on the phone lines this morning, he is Ben Arthur, covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. What's up, Ben? How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, Ben.
We're great. We are ready for real football. I feel like this is the most painful part of the NFL offseason, when you're so close you can taste it, but we're still in preseason and not quite there yet. For you, though, Ben, when the Titans take the field for the final time in preseason tomorrow, are there any starters you definitely don't need to see that you're good without playing tomorrow when the Titans take on New England?
Yeah, I think those guys would be Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, and Jeff Simmons. I mean, those guys are just too important to the team to have anything happen to them. And I think, honestly, it really starts with Tannehill. Even though Derrick might be the quote-unquote like best player, but as your starting quarterback, and we know kind of the issues the Titans had last season when he went down, protecting your starting quarterback at all costs, especially when we're still not quite sure what exactly this passing game is going to look like with the injuries that, Traylon Burks and Kyle Phillips are dealing with, and we're still not sure what the pass protection situation is going to be like up front. I mean, I just think, starting with Ryan Tannehill and then some of those other big name stars, Pro Bowlers, I really just don't think it's worth the risk. Obviously, you would like maybe a few reps just going into the regular season, right? Because I think we have seen some situations where, when starters don't play and then they get to the regular season, the season can maybe not start out so great. But I think with the Titans case, I just don't think you really need to see those guys. I don't think the injury risk is worth it.
Ben Arthur, Fox Sports, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ben, as you wrap up the preseason for Malik Willis, how would you grade his performance through the practices, through these preseason games? Has anything he's done surprised you over the past month?
I'm not sure if anything he's done has maybe surprised me, but I think the improvements, the strides he's made have been evident. I mean, we have seen – I mean, he isn't perfect, right? Like, we've seen some mistakes. We saw the interception in the Vikings game. Maybe a throw or two here that he would like to have back. But I think from an overall, operations standpoint, getting through his reads, throwing with more decisiveness. I thought when he did decide to run, like in the Vikings game, I think that just showed kind of the growth in knowing, maybe there isn't anyone open downfield. I'm going to be decisive about running instead of maybe getting in his head about kind of trying to stay in the pocket when running is part of his game, right? It is who he is as a quarterback. So I just think the gradual improvements that he's made and just the comfort level, the confidence level has been kind of what has stood out the most with Malik.
Ben, when you view this 2023 draft class so far, post-camp, because we're coming up on it right now, we've gotten past the OTAs, mini camp, the spring. We actually got an opportunity to see them this year, man, on the field. Peter Skoronski, Will Levis, Tajay Spears, Josh Wiley, Jalen Duncan, and Colton Dowell. How do you assess them for Rand Carthon's first draft?
Yeah, I think at the top class, you're getting a lot, right? I mean, Will Levis right now looks like the number 3 quarterback, but Tajay Spears, man, he looks phenomenal. Like, I remember so many people were just kind of Titans fans were just kind of confused at that pick, using a 3rd round pick on a running back, and there were the reports about him not having an ACL or whatever. I mean, I think he's really shut up all of that chatter just with what he can be for the Titans as an offensive weapon, whether he's maybe playing alongside Derrick in the backfield or if it's just him, what he can do, his quickness, his burst. I love his ability to cut back and find holes. He's been great. And then we know the 33-yard touchdown run he had this past weekend. And then Skoronski coming in, and, he could be the Titans' best offensive lineman. When we look at as we get into the season and really see the starters really get into it. I mean, he's clearly the starting left guard. And I think he could be he's going to be, if not their best offensive lineman, one of the leaders there, just in terms of, from a production standpoint. Colton Dowell, I haven't seen, a whole lot from him, to be honest. Wiley has had some good moments in practice, but I don't think we've quite seen it translate to the game as much as you hope. But I think from the Titans standpoint, what you could maybe do with 2 tight end sets with him and Chigakonkwo, that has to maybe make you excited. So yeah, I think to just kind of answer your question, I think at the top, particularly with Tajay Spears and Peter Skoronski, those guys are like they've established themselves as key guys for the Titans already. And then I think at the bottom of the class, and then with Levis, it's still kind of to be determined.
Do you see also with the addition of Tajay Spears, honestly, the saving of Derrick Henry's career as far as the amount of reps that he gets to? Because having a solid number 2, and they got one, it seems, out of Tajay, how do you think that looks for Derrick outlook for this 2023 season?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the money, just in terms of knowing that Derrick doesn't have to necessarily take 20 to 30 carries every game. You have a guy in Spears who's very dynamic, could take on huge chunk of the load in terms of carries and running back snaps. Of course, Derrick Henry is still the engine of this team. I still expect the Titans offense, even with kind of the new system in place, and kind of with Tim Kelly being the play caller now, there are going to be some differences, but I still think Derrick is the engine. But I think with Spears, you definitely think about what that could mean once we get to November, December, January, and Derrick Henry being fresher, and we know what he can do in those later months when these defensive front players, like they start to get they don't want to hit a guy of that size, especially as it gets colder too. And so I think just with Spears, it's just a net positive for that offense, but for Derrick. And I think in terms of, keeping Derrick fresh throughout the season, it definitely helps a lot.
Okay, Ben. So we all know Mason Kinsey, right? And he's been here for a minute. He's been a great camp body. And this year, you could argue he probably had one of his best camps, right? And now you've got a situation in that wide receiver room with some injuries. And at least to start the season, and including bodies on special teams, do you feel like he can legitimately, at least to start the season, make this roster? Or who are you taking above him?
Yeah, I think from the wide receiver numbers standpoint right now, he can absolutely make the team. When you talk about the Titans, 2 of their top 3 receivers in Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips, you don't kind of know what their status is to start the season. And I think more so with Kyle Phillips, like it seems like he might have a longer timeline, needing some bodies in that receiver room. And then I just think with Mason Kinsey, he is a punt return option, right? And if you don't have Kyle Phillips, like who's the guy after him? I think there are a couple of DBs you can look at, maybe like an Eric Guerrer who has had a good preseason in training camp. And, actually Reggie Roberson in the receiver room is another guy I like, who I have on my initial 53. But you can absolutely 100% make the case for Mason Kinsey being on the initial 53 just because of the injuries they're dealing with, the fact that, as you said, he's had his best training camp, and then the fact what he brings on special teams as a punt return option. And we know how insecure that situation was last year, between the issues Kyle Phillips had before he got hurt and then kind of after that. I think, Mason Kinsey definitely has a good chance of making the initial team.
shocked at all with what happened this week with both Caleb Shudak and Trey Wolf, pretty much booted out, and you're bringing in a guy who, in Michael Badgley, who had a hot, stint here. But what do you think is going to happen with this kicking game? Do you feel like he'll be here for at least a half of the season, the whole season? Like, what do you think this guy can bring, if anything, or do you think they're just going to move right on if he has a bad game?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it was kind of discouraging, I think, from the Titans' perspective in that first practice. I actually wasn't there, but I saw some of the reports coming out like he had like a lot of misses and whatnot. And then actually yesterday when I was there, he played better. I think he only hit one field goal. Missed only one for the day. So yeah, I mean, it could be a situation where they're taking it week by week, and we all know the issues the Titans have had maybe in the last several years with Rabel, just in terms of finding a stable kicker. For their sake, you hope that isn't the case, but if he has a couple bad games, you can't really. You might just have to move on. And look, honestly, I think the Titans are in the territory where, when looking forward to maybe next year's draft, you might have to think about using one of those late round picks.
I agree.
On a kicker, if you can get that guaranteed security, because it's been several years of this to this point to where you're kind of at the edge of your seats at points. I don't know how Badgley is going to turn out. I remember he was here briefly last year. That didn't really work out, and so maybe it does this time. I'm not sure, but I definitely think we're at the point where next year, you look at those later round picks, maybe consider, taking a guy in the college ranks who's, a surefire, maybe 10-year kicker for you. I think the Titans really have to be thinking strong about that just because of what they've been through.
Ben Arthur, Fox Sports with us. Ben, when you look at C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson both beginning the season potentially as starters, who do you have more faith in at this point of the preseason?
I would probably say Anthony Richardson, just because he's only played one preseason game to this point, and he's going to start again when the Colts play the Eagles today. But I just think from in that first preseason game, I think we've all seen the interception he had, and that was bad, right? But I think from a command standpoint, operation standpoint, comfort level, poise, he looked really good, especially for a guy that it feels like everyone has talked about how he's going to need so much time to really ease in. I think he's progressed really, really well. Probably even quicker than I anticipated, and the fact that the Colts were so quick to name him the starter, or relatively so. I think it shows really their confidence in him and some of the plays he can make. There are some moments in that preseason opener they had where, the receiver just maybe dropped the ball. He had the ball on the money, but they weren't able to connect on that. So, and then you look at what he can do as a runner just with, a whole read option or RPO system. I'm really high on what he can do. C.J. Stroud has made progress as well, but I think it's going to maybe take a little more time. He had a really rough preseason opener, and then in that the game over against the Dolphins, we saw a little bit more of that confidence, that ball placement, going with decisiveness that we saw from him at Ohio State. But I just don't think we've seen as big enough of maybe a sample size of positive stuff from him as we have with Anthony Richardson to this point. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of see, but if you're asking me to kind of choose one, I would probably say Anthony Richardson.
Ben, the former Auburn running back Tank Bigsby has impressed at Jacksonville Jaguars camp. Anton Harrison, the rookie out of Oklahoma as well, getting good reviews. Do you buy into the fact that Jacksonville's run game might be a bit underrated this season with ETN fully healthy and in the mix with Trevor Lawrence, with Tank Bigsby being added and that offensive line another year older. Is this a storyline maybe we're not talking about enough when it comes to the defending AFC South champs?
Yeah, I think the Jaguars' run game could be, exponentially better. And we have to remember, like, last year was basically Travis Etienne's rookie year,
right?
Because he missed his first season with a foot injury, and so it was like his redshirt rookie year, so to speak. And so he's only going to be more comfortable. He knows what to expect. He knows what's expected of him in Doug Peterson's offense, and he's definitely more of an outside the tackles runner. But Tank Bigsby, I think, is the perfect complement because for those of us who've kind of watched SEC football, like, we know what he could do between the tackles. Like, you have kind of like that inside out run balance with ETN and Bigsby. I think the run game is going to be a lot better, and then you just tack that on to the fact that their pass game should be better, because they have Calvin Ridley. Trevor Lawrence has another year under his belt. He's going to be in year 2 with Doug Peterson, another year of chemistry with kind of all those pass catchers. I really like, from the run game standpoint, I really like what the Jags could potentially be this year.
Jonathan Taylor going to play for the Colts this fall?
Oh, I don't think so. I think a trade is. I think I could see a trade happening. I know we saw the reports about them asking for a first-round pick. I don't think anyone really expects that to happen, just knowing the state of running backs, and then also the fact that no one knows what Jonathan Taylor's injury situation is. Even as good as he is, I don't see, with everything going around, like, how to justify a first rounder. But I could see a situation where the Colts, can kind of maybe come to a middle ground with another team and just kind of move on. I think we've seen teams I think, and I actually wrote on this, I think with losing Jonathan Taylor with that possibility, I think Anthony Richardson is the one who, gets hurt the most just because of having a stable run game. But we have seen teams being able to, produce a competent run games even without a star guy. And then I think from the Colts perspective, if you are able to move on from him, it's just kind of this massive distraction, this cloud that's kind of moved on, and you could just kind of focus on, what this team is going to be with Anthony Richardson. I could see that vantage point as well, because right now it just doesn't seem like Jonathan Taylor wants anything to do with the Colts anymore, and I just don't know from the Colts perspective if, it's going to be worth the headache. So yeah, I could see him being moved, but not for a first-round pick. I don't see that happening.
He is Ben Arthur covering the AFC South for Fox Sports. Always great stuff, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Ben.
you.
Absolutely. There's Ben Arthur with us hitting the AFC South headlines. And coming up next, guys, there's something that happened in the NCAA yesterday that may never happen again, and it has to do with one team in the SEC West. When we continue on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
It's Ramon Foster for Zen Sports here to tell you about Zen Sports, the new sports betting app in Tennessee, revolutionizing sports betting rewards. What if I told you that you're wasting your time and money betting on any sports book that's not Zen Sports? Yes, you are. For instance, Zen Sports offer real cash rewards for those lucky enough to be in Tennessee, and that means no funny money, points, or credit. We're talking about hard cash to your account, just like the welcome bonus they offer, where you can earn 5% cash back on every bet you place for the first 15 days with no limit on your bonus when you use a referral bonus code. and earn up to 3% cash back on your bets after that with Zen Sports Loyalty Program. So make the switch today and start betting on Zen Sports. Trust me, your wallet will thank you later. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years and older and present in Tennessee to bet.
Continuing your Thursday on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, we're powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, and players getting suspended for improper benefits may never happen again. But it happened to the LSU Tigers, and it is severely going to hurt them going forward into their top 10 matchup against Florida State in Week 1. A very underwhelming Week 1 college football slate, guys. But that being said, an underwhelming college football slate is better than a great slate of most other sports, so I'm cool with it. But defensive lineman Mason Smith will be suspended for LSU for the season opener because he participated in an autograph signing in the summer of 2021 prior to NIL going live. So 2 things to unpack here. Yes, the NCAA still takes 2 years to hand out punishment, even if it's just to one player, which I'm glad is about to be a thing of the past. And B, how in the world is this still a thing with NIL? I don't care if it happened before NIL going live. NIL went live.
Yeah.
NCAA, you're not that guy.
No, they're not. They continually do this type of stuff. Like, is this type of like PR that they have, or these situations where you're just like, this isn't necessary, y'all.
Right.
And then, truthfully, I think they thought they were being like Superman and bold, but also putting out a statement against Reggie Bush too.
Yeah, I saw that.
Do y'all not know what's going on with the people? Like the way they look at y'all. Like, you used to be cool. You used to have control. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's really sad.
Yeah, I think it's just at this point, they're just holding on to their name, right? It's the NCAA. That's what you think about, but what's really behind it at this point? This type of stuff, like, who cares? We don't care anymore, but it does. It affects the team that's playing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's to me, it's mind-boggling that they still are a thing.
Yeah, and I guarantee it couldn't have been for that much money. Like,
No.
one game, it couldn't have been that much money. I'm guessing $1,500 or something like that, and you choose to suspend a kid for a game when now that is fully legal to do. Like, that's bothersome. But that's the NCAA for you as it stands.
Coming up in hour number 4, we will get to our Thursday 3 picks for week 0 of college football and week 3 of preseason football, all against the spread. Looking forward to that. We've also got an NFL team that is interested in Josh Jacobs and potentially Jonathan Taylor. It warmed my heart over the past 24 hours to look up betting lines for college football games.
It might be do it.
It really felt good.
It did.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, that's all right too, Will. We're there though, man. We've really walked down this summer. Even with August, I feel like this has moved just as fast too this year. And I feel like each year I say the same thing, but people are excited for this season. That's the thing about football. It gets you going, man. It really does. High school football kicked off last week, and now. Oh, by the way, I shouted you out this morning too with the barista. I ended up stopping at.
Well, you
I was
what?
like, because today is the first day the pumpkin spice is available at Starbucks.
Oh,
And I was like, man, my co-host is super excited about being in it. It was like, and I told the story about how you get ready for football games. Like, is it fall? I was like, yes, that's him. I said it just like that.
I may or may not have bought pumpkin creamer at my local grocer on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And may or may not have been drinking pumpkin coffee yesterday during the show. And by that, I mean I 100% was.
You know what's
100%
crazy?
was.
They actually get like, it seemed like the crew at the Starbucks I go to had anxiety about today. It was
I'm
like,
sure they did.
You don't understand what today is. I'm like, what do you mean?
It was like when I worked at a donut place on National Donut Day and we ran out of donuts by 11 a.m. and we had to start turning people away.
No way.
Yeah.
No, like they were legitimately like, today's going to be a long, bad day. I was like,
Yeah.
over pumpkin spice? Over pumpkin spice.
And imagine if they were giving it away.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good. I've had 5 pumpkin coffees since last Friday when I had my first one.
God.
Who is this?
Stop it.
I think 5.
You
Let
need
me
to
think.
mix it up, man. You
I had
don't.
one yesterday. I had one Friday on the way to Ravenwood, Alcoa. I had one Sunday in my recovery from the Leagues Cup final. And then I think I had one more. Yeah, I think I've had 4. Only 4.
Only?
It's good. Like, I enjoy pumpkin-flavored things. Pumpkin bread. Sign me up.
Pumpkin pie?
Yeah, I love pumpkin pie.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Team sweet potato over here.
It also just reminds me of fall, which reminds me of football, which makes me
Pumpkin.
happy.
God's favorite gourd.
You a pumpkin guy too?
No, I
oh.
prefer other gourds to pumpkins, but
Rhett Gordy B.
Hey,
The only one that's better.
There we go. There we go.
I don't know. If loving pumpkin is wrong, then I don't want to be right.
Go to break first.
Okay.
He cannot do that. To that song.
615-737-1045. The NFL team that was in for Josh Jacobs that could maybe be in for Jonathan Taylor when we come back on RKW. Hey, it's Will Bowling. If you are a business owner or facility manager, you've got a lot on your plate and a ton to keep up with. That can include assessing your equipment and systems, evaluating indoor air quality, outlining new cleaning procedures, or even reviewing options for implementing touchless plumbing and electrical fixtures. That's a long list. It's quite a lot. Hey, Lee Company, they can help you with it all. They have been in the facility management and maintenance business for decades. So put their professional expertise to work for you today. They're not only going to help you with your home's HVAC, your electrical, your plumbing, they're going to do that all for your facility as well if you're a business owner. So call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or contact them online at leecompany.com. They really are all you need, and they've been all this area has needed over the last 80 years. Electrical, plumbing, HVAC. Lee Company's going to do it all for you. 615-567-1000. That's how you call them, or you can contact them online at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need.
8:59. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Robert Walsh. Former Titans wide receiver Corey Davis informed the Jets yesterday that he plans on retiring from the NFL at the age of 28. Over 6 seasons, Davis has caught 273 passes for 3,879 yards and 17 touchdowns. His final year in Tennessee was one of the best of his career, where he had over 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Jets will clear another $10 million in salary cap space with Davis retiring. The 49ers make a decision at backup quarterback, and it is not Trey Lance. They have named Sam Darnold QB2 behind their quarterback number 1. In the doghouse, Trey Lance seems to be. He wasn't spotted at practice, but head coach Kyle Shanahan will play in the final preseason game against the Chargers. Colts have given Jonathan Taylor until Tuesday to find a suitable trade partner after authorizing the star running back to find a trade on his own. 6 teams have inquired about Taylor's availability, and 2 others have made offers, per NFL reporter Stephen Holder. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5. Brock Purdy, that was his name. The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show starts right now on a Friday junior edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. One day away from your Friday. Let's act like it. Let's have a good one today. It's been a good show over the last 3 hours with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Robert Walsh behind the glass. My name is Will Bowling. We've got the Thursday 3 coming up in 20 minutes. It might be week 0, but college football is officially back. And we begin our competition for the 2023 season, where essentially the rules are going to be simple. We have got NFL football and college football happening every single week. All of us will make 3 picks against the spread in either NFL or college football. The winner will get some kind of prize. The loser will get some kind of punishment. I've decided in this moment as well. Don't know what either of those are yet. If you have submissions, let us know at Ramon Kayla Will.
I'm with that.
I feel like Robert has so many good small business ideas, though. We should just give him like a notepad in a dark room for a couple hours, and he'll come up with some great options.
I want a wheel like promotions gets, when you go to like a radio event, and it's like, come see us at this cell phone store. And you go over there and they're like, spin the wheel to win prizes. I want a wheel of punishments so bad.
Yeah.
I have tried to steal the downstairs wheel so many times. Rich has locked it in his office. I'm no longer allowed to even look at it. But if anyone is listening and we have room in the budget, I would like a wheel. And I would like it so it has Velcro, and I can uniform different punishments to it. Those are my requests.
Ramon, Kayla, and Wheel, weekdays from 6 to 10 on 104.5 The Zone.
Shut up.
Why you display?
Dang it.
Shut up.
Sorry, my wheels were turning on that one.
And he continues to double down.
Where there's a wheel, there's a way.
That's what we're doing? You got to will this into existence, huh?
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. That was real good.
615-737-1045, our number.
I really can't handle this.
Thank you. The Miami Dolphins had interest in former Vikings running back Dalvin Cook before he chose to sign with the Jets. Now they are once again looking to land a star running back. Per NFL media, the Dolphins made an exploratory call on Vegas running back Josh Jacobs, and also have some interest in Jonathan Taylor.
Good.
AFC East, that's all they need. Another over-the-hill running back.
Well, ain't over the hill.
not over the hill.
Who? Jacobs
Jonathan
or
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor?
Both. I don't think
JT.
they're over the hill. Yeah. I
By
appreciate-
NFL standards, they are.
I appreciate your hate coming into it.
No,
though, Will.
I agree they're not over the hill. But if you are in the last year of your rookie deal, the NFL has told running backs everywhere that you're over the hill.
Yeah, well, that's true, too.
That's what I'm saying.
Definitely. I will say this. It has to suck, though, to be in a position like running back in general. Or let's just say I'm looking at the Miami Dolphins roster right now, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., Myles Gaskin, and knowing that they're asking publicly to trade for a guy at your position is probably going to come in and start after you've served all of training camp with them too. That's a tough place to be. But what I see Miami trying to do is get to that point of getting deeper into the playoffs or to the Super Bowl with as much talent as they possibly can before they have to make a decision on Tua.
Yeah, well, and that's what you got to hope for first and foremost is Tua going to be able to stay upright. And nothing against him. I'm not trying to personally attack him, any of that. Let me make that clear. But it's a legit question, right? And so I guess surrounding him as much as you can and making sure you have a running game there, like that's important. I don't think it's a bad fit.
I don't think it is either, and they got to combat their division. Their division right now is stacked.
And
Buffalo.
they did well last year with all the situations that they were dealing with Tua even.
I know. And Buffalo, numerous running backs in their arsenal. You got one of the best young running backs with the Jets right now. And the Patriots, we went over who they have. They got Ezekiel Elliott. They're trying to fight fire with fire right now. It's a smart business move on them to try to find a guy, depending on what that trade value is going to be when it comes down to those guys being signed in Miami trying to better their team. That's aggressive.
Yeah, it is.
It's very aggressive.
Doesn't surprise me, though.
It doesn't surprise you because of their head coach, McDaniels?
Yeah, I think he's just like, you know what? If there's something out there we want, we think it can make us better, we're going to get it.
I'm starting to question, is he smart? Is he good? Or is he just
puny?
Yeah, he's a small individual. I can tell you that. What is he going to be? Because all these moves that they're making, if he's supposed to be the offensive guru behind it, you don't want to have egg on your face at the end of this if they don't get deeper into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Also yesterday in the football world, you have Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark ruffling some feathers. Listen to this from him yesterday from the Texas Tech Red Raider Club luncheon. Admit that he is openly rooting for Texas Tech to beat Texas this year.
In addition, candidly, we were able to get Texas and Oklahoma out a year early. That was a big deal for us, and I think all of you. Okay? And Coach, I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but I'm going to be in Austin for Thanksgiving, okay? And you better take care of business like you did right here in Lubbock last year.
I love it. I'm here for it. The Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark, anytime you can give a real or fake proverbial horns down to Texas, I think it's fun. This is the kind of just idiocy, and I mean that in a good way, that makes college football college football. And as we lose a lot of these natural rivalries with conference realignment, I'm glad that we can still have rivalries at least off the field. I get it from the Texas perspective that why is the guy that is in charge of rules being established and officials that, the officials are going to be biased now because at a luncheon, Brett Yormark is saying that's probably fair. But at the same time, I'm here for the pettiness.
I am too. 100% ready for it, man. I love every bit of this. Acknowledge that you were sick of them. Acknowledge that they're not in your conference anymore. Acknowledge that, look, you're trying to preserve the Big 12 when it comes down to you and your people. Like, I'm riding with y'all. I love everything about this. Whether they win or lose, he let it be known the hate is there. I know y'all thought y'all were better than us, and I hope we beat you again this year the same way we beat you last year. I'm all for this in front of everybody, and he didn't hold back whatsoever. No, this type of stuff is necessary, especially when it can be perceived that, Texas thought they were better than what the Big 12 had to offer. No, we beat you last year. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you're seeing, though, all over in terms of conferences, adding folks, you're losing folks. I mean, the Pac-12 crumbled, and they grabbed folks from the Big 12 to preserve themselves. They grabbed teams from the Pac-12 to make sure that they didn't go away, which was a smart move by the commissioner, one that I hoped the Pac-12 would have made. So now it's kind of like survival of the fittest of these Power 5 conferences, because every week I feel like we're talking about potentially a new conference adding 2 teams. So I think it's great that you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder as a conference and still battling to keep your conference intact. Now, could they add my team, Washington State? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, maybe I'll call up Commissioner and have him do that. But no, I think it was awesome, and I get it. That's the day and age we're in college football. Everyone is fighting those Power 5 conferences to stay alive. So jab is cool.
If you did go to the Big 12, at least you know he's going to fight for his teams.
That's
in
what
this
I'm saying.
conference.
I like that. I like that. I
He's fighting for it.
absolutely like that.
Yeah.
In the world of conference realignment, you were either the hunter or the hunted.
Yep.
And Brett Yormark, while maybe crossing a line here, is erring on the side of being more the hunter than the hunted.
Sure.
I do think from the Texas point of view, I understand fans that don't like the integrity of saying something like that in a position of leadership, but you left him and the rest of your conference high and dry.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you. You got to deal with the consequences of that, while understanding that joining the SEC benefits you more long-term than the commissioner of a lesser conference taking pot shots at you at a, quarterback club luncheon. These things happen all the time.
They do.
Right.
And if you're not one of those guys that at least is attractive, to your conference, they're probably going to look for somebody else. Again, Sankey walks around with, just an iron fist with how he rules the SEC. I don't even want to say it. It's a partnership, I feel like, with what they got going on.
Oh, sure.
And I feel like the Big 12 commissioner kind of said the same exact thing. Like, we're in this together. We understand what's going on. I like that.
Yeah.
I do think it's funny him trying to take credit for getting Texas and Oklahoma out of the conference early. That's a little bit of revisionist history. Texas and Oklahoma have every incentive to leave the conference early on their own and get a bigger check and go to the SEC.
Right. And this is what I will say, Will, on that, though. Texas has a lot to prove still. And it's not getting any easier once they take a hop into the SEC.
Right.
And yes, Steve Sarkisian, you can argue that, he's on the right path, right?
Right.
But he's still got to do it. He's still got to win those games. He's still got to get to a college football championship. That has not happened yet.
He does.
So right now, I think it's kind of funny because it's like if they go to the SEC and they don't find success, I'm not saying that's going to happen, then it's even more of a laughable moment to look back on.
Well, and the other thing about that is if Texas fans are upset about this, just be thankful that when you joined the SEC, Steve Spurrier wasn't a head coach.
Right.
Like, Texas fans, you're going to have to develop much, much, much thicker skin.
Mm-hmm.
If things like this offend you, you are in for a world of hurt. And that's probably already the case on the field. There will have to be an adjustment period for them because you don't really get at Kansas every year.
No.
You don't get to play Kansas State. Kansas State, obviously, I know was better last year, but you don't get to play really more than one historic doormat like you do 3 or 4 times in the Big 12. We're going to have to develop some thicker skin, Texas fans, if you're going to survive in this league. Oklahoma fans, I feel like y'all are doing okay. But Texas fans, we got to grow up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why they actually got that defensive about it anyway. Like, this is sportsmanship. It's not like you're getting cursed out.
Because it's like, oh, well, he's going to assign the refs, and then the refs are going to be slanted towards Texas Tech because we're leaving for the SEC.
Oh, no. I meant as far as, like, the horns down stuff. Like, the stuff within the game. That's what I meant.
Right.
Like, as far as, like, the thin skin stuff. Like, yeah. Like, this is all a part of it. Maybe they'll figure out what it means more. Let's just leave it
wait till they hear what's the better orange.
Oh my gosh,
that's a whole nother conversation
or the
about
real
to
UT.
be coming.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The reason why Texas is Texas and not North Mexico because Tennessee Volunteers showed up there.
Tell them about it, Will.
Will
that rivalry turn into like the 49ers and Raiders, like, you know what I'm saying, in the stands where the real UT versus the other UT?
I don't think that is going to be at the top of the list of rivals Texas is adding again. It's going to be A&M.
A&M?
Well, yeah, Texas and Texas A&M is one of the best rivalries in college football.
Never heard of it.
Okay. 615-737-1045 if you want to join us. Coming up, the Thursday 3 from us. 3 picks from all of us for the football weekend, whether it's NFL preseason or college football week 0. We give you some of that coming up next on our Mo and Kayla and Will.
It's Ramon and Will for Kellum Stem Cell Institute. It is a holistic stem cell therapy. Many patients have experienced remarkable results from a wide range of issues, whether it be arthritis, congestive heart failure, asthma. I'm telling you, and this isn't the controversial stem cell used in fetal research or donor cells of any kind. Will, it's your own body, it's your own cells helping heal you.
Yeah, and from you and I who are former athletes, this is something that can take away that nagging pain as well for us who maybe were dealing with things where you're always injured and never totally healthy during a season. Well, Dr. Kellum recently returned from Hungary where he worked with Team USA. He was also the team doctor for the Boston Celtics and works with several major sports franchises and individual players. If you're living an active lifestyle, this is for you. Not a controversial stem cell therapy involving embryonic stem cells and replicating someone else's cells. These are your cells healing your body. Call to set up a free consultation at 615-850-4415 or visit KellumStemCellInstitute.com. That's KELLUM StemCellInstitute.com. The phone number again, 615-850-4415. Online at KellumStemCellInstitute.com. Continuing your Thursday morning on RKW, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. If you want to join us as we talk some college football that is played in 48 hours. We made it, ladies and gentlemen. Football is back. This is the Thursday 3, which will give you 3 picks of any kind, over, under, against the spread, money line, 3 picks from us, the 4 of us, that will preview the football weekend. This will include NFL. It will include college. I don't know about you guys. I've got 1 NFL preseason pick and 2 college picks in my Thursday 3 this morning. So, Robert Walsh, I would say, actually, I don't know if we need to do a number generator to say who gets the first pick, because we will allow ourselves to have 2 of the same picks.
Yeah.
So 2 of us might be on the same train. We might be going head to head, whatever it is. But at the end of the season, we will keep a record on this.
Yeah.
So it's like, whose line is it anyway? The point's made up and nothing matters. But for now, we will get some kind of punishment and reward for the winner and loser. So, Kayla, you lead us off then.
I actually do not want to lead us off because this is not my cup of tea.
Never
so
mind.
I'm definitely, so I'm not trying to be rude. This is just,
Sure.
this is definitely not my wheelhouse. So I'm going to be learning as I go.
I'll start this off.
Just to
you
be
go for it.
I'll
real
take
with the
this
people.
one. This is a big spread right here, too. It's Dolphins and Jags by 7. And I just don't believe that we're all right now. And it's for this reason specifically. Dolphins are beefing publicly, okay, with Ryan Clark. And I feel like they got to come out and just show. But no, seriously, 7 is a little bit too much for a preseason game, I feel like, with the Dolphins, as much talent as they do have. So I'm actually going up against that one.
So you're going Dolphins plus 7.
Yeah, I'm going Dolphins on
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
Yep. Finish out the list?
No. We'll go one at a
I got
time.
Dolphins. I'm taking Dolphins on this one.
Okay.
All right.
7 points, just a bit much.
I'm actually going to go the opposite.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
First head-to-head matchup. I love
so
it.
I'm going to go Jags minus 7.
You got Jags by 7?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that one. That sounds good to me.
Robert Walsh.
I'm going to go to college first.
Okay.
And I'm going to go, I'm leading the sicko committee today.
Oh, boy.
New Mexico State and UMass.
Ooh.
I'm going to go, when you look at it, and if anybody can tell me what the hell TSI is, every time I look at a gambling website, every time I look at a betting website, somebody's like, well, TSI defensive metrics. I don't know what it means, but they're a whole lot smarter than I am. So just a little background. New Mexico State last year was 120 in TSI defense. UMass is 123 in defense. So neither one of their defenses are good. UMass also projects to be one of the worst offenses in FBS. So I think New Mexico State clears 6.5, and they cover that and take down UMass.
All right, so you've got
New
again,
Mexico State by 6.5.
New Mexico State minus 6.5. The Aggies starting off the season hot. I'm going to stay local for 2 of my picks, by the way. I'm going to do something that you're not supposed to do. I'm going to give you reasons why Hawaii will cover, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm picking Vanderbilt to cover against the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Since Clark Lee took over, Vanderbilt is 0-5 against the spread at home against non-conference opponents. Hawaii played better than expected in a 3-win season last year, rebuilding under a new head coach. They covered in 7 of their last 8 games, despite losing 63-10 to open the season against the Vanderbilt Commodores last year. I think this number has moved too far in favor of Hawaii for that reason. And it's hard for me to bet against a team that won a game by 53 points last year to not be able to cover 17.5 on their home stadium without the crazy travel that Hawaii is going to have to take. I think Vanderbilt has a good shot at bowl eligibility this season. I like what Clark Lee's done. I think there's a lot of excitement around that program. And if they kept Ray Davis, their running back, who's now at Kentucky, I think this team would absolutely, make a bowl game this season. Give me Vanderbilt minus 17.5. I think you should absolutely, if you're Vandy, be able to cover that number on your home field against a team you beat by 53 last season that has to travel hours and hours on a flight. I think that's an easy pick in favor of the Commodores.
Wonder how soon they get in. Like, did they get in on Tuesday or did they get in?
That's a good question.
Good question. There's a lot of adjustment there.
Oh my gosh,
A lot of adjustment. So it would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if they spent most of the week here.
Yeah, I would suggest that be the case. Clark Lee, by the way, was on 3HL. He was real good with them yesterday. If y'all missed that interview, man, he was real good with them.
That one on SEC Network Saturday night, 6:30, the kickoff. That is 1:30 Hawaiian time.
1:30 Hawaiian time?
Honestly, this is a good scout for many of us who are sickos, who are looking at a first time for a Hawaii team that is often the final bet you would make on a college football Saturday. Hawaii is the national team of recouping your losses at the end of a Saturday. If Pac-12 After Dark still puts you in the hole, Hawaii is the savior for a lot of people. Like, well, let me see what the Hawaii game is. I got to win something today. And then you just bet on Hawaii because they're always the last game going on.
Yeah, that's very true.
And soon we'll be able to say that about Big Ten After Dark. If Big Ten After Dark doesn't work for you, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors are always there.
Always there waiting.
Yes.
All right, pick number 2.
Pick number 2. This Lions-Panthers game. Panthers are favorite 4.5. And considering the team that the Lions have, I can't see the Panthers winning this game. On behalf of the idea that Teddy Bridgewater's a backup quarterback. They also have a running game. They have a second offensive line that's pretty solid, and they also bite kneecaps. I always got to go default to the kneecap biting when you're facing the Detroit Lions. A better team this year. It's going to be, I think, a race for the NFC North. So there's no way I see them dropping that game, and the spread is 4.5. I'm not believing that one. I got Lions on this one.
So Lions
over Panthers.
Minus 4.5?
Minus 4.5.
Okay.
Lions, well, it's actually Panthers minus 4.5.
Okay, so Lions plus 4.5.
Lions, plus 4.5.
Okay.
I'm taking them.
So I'm going to go overseas. I'm going to go to Dublin, Ireland, where there is a college game happening. If you did not know, yes, there's a college game happening overseas. And favors, probably one of called Notre Dame. Probably their homeland over there. And what I like about this, I'm going to go minus 20.5 Notre Dame for the sheer fact that they do have a new quarterback. It's Sam Hartman, but Navy changing offenses too. So I'm going with minus 20.5 Notre Dame.
Okay.
I like it.
Playing overseas. That's got to be pretty cool too. You said Dublin?
Yeah, Dublin, Ireland.
Does that count as a home field advantage for the Fighting Irish playing in Ireland?
I think so.
Yeah, what's the point total you get in favor of a home field advantage? It's 3 in the NFL. What is it? Probably 5 in college football?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that was the case.
That'd be my guess. I know it's 3. Like the home team gets a 3-point advantage in the NFL.
In the NFL, yes.
Neutral, because a neutral site
is
there's just none. I think Notre Dame needs to get at least 3 points playing in front of Irish people.
And there are going to be a ton of Notre Dame fans.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I bet
ton.
they're crazy 100%. Over there, too.
I can say from a fact, Navy fans do not travel, even though they like the boats. They cannot get a boat over there.
True.
Well, I mean, how many of the people are stationed out there, though, that will have Naval Academy ties? No, seriously.
Hopefully, they'll probably be working if they're stationed out there. I don't know if they'll be able to go to the game.
That's fair.
I have an answer for that. It's 2.5 points is the advantage in college, it says.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a trade, by the way, in the NFL real quick.
Oh, okay.
The Arizona Cardinals have traded Isaiah Simmons to the New York Giants for a 7th-round pick.
That is chicken feed.
Okay.
That is really, really cheap.
Somebody make the sense of that for me.
All righty.
I think it makes sense because Isaiah Simmons is kind of a tweener, and that guy wowed all of us at the Combine, but how many of us can actually tell Isaiah Simmons' stats since he started playing in the NFL?
I thought he was their starting nickel, like their strong safety guy that came down to the box. I thought he started a lot of games for them last year.
Yeah, but like he starts at like not a position. Like he plays safety, linebacker, and nickel. I don't know. He has 7.5 career sacks in last 2 seasons, 4 interceptions. Yeah.
8th overall pick.
Yeah. I remember.
For a 7th-round pick?
I remember everyone thinking he was going to be a stud.
If
coming out of college
fast
at Clemson.
forward, I think everybody thought he was going to be Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But he hasn't been.
No, he hasn't.
He has 7.5 career sacks.
Good tackler. He only missed less than 5% of his tackles last year, but gave a lot up when he was targeted. Gave up 77% of the targets towards him and gave up 4 touchdowns last year with a rating of 104 for the opposing quarterback. So not great, but still a guy that you would think as a reclamation project would garner more than that.
So we're pairing him up with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Ooh.
There you go.
That should be solid.
Talking about another guy
Forgot
who could
about
get
that
traded
guy.
for my pick. And the numbers reflect this. When you look at the San Francisco spread, San Francisco taking on the Chargers, San Francisco is favored by 7.5. So the books have already reflected that Trey Lance is going to play in this game. 7.5 is a lot of points, but Charger quarterbacks have been putrid this offseason, or this preseason, rather. So I think last week, Easton Stick threw about 50% for 200 yards, 45 attempts, 2 interceptions. So they're going to try to get back in the game. They just failed to do so. So I think Trey Lance is going to be playing for his life, literally, now that we got an update saying that San Francisco is going to seek a trade to ship Trey Lance out. So I'm going to take San Francisco to cover the 7.5.
I like it.
Okay.
It's a big number.
That is a big number.
I'm going to go to the great state of California in the city of San Diego. Brady Hoke's San Diego State Aztecs taking on the Bobcats of Ohio. Give me San Diego State minus 2.5 at home. This is actually going to be a pretty good game between San Diego State and Ohio. Ohio quarterback Curtis Rourke coming back from a torn ACL that he suffered 8 months ago against Ball State. I think Curtis Rourke and Ohio will be a fun Maction team for you to be familiar with. Come Tuesdays and Wednesday nights later in the fall. But for now, for a guy coming off of a torn ACL, this is kind of a wild card game to me, considering the recovery time for him. And typically you're 9 to 12 months out of an ACL. He's going to play in this one 8 months after. I think for that reason, I'm going to lean towards the home team and lean for San Diego State. At home, give me the Aztecs minus 2.5 over the Bobcats of Ohio.
All right, I feel that. My last pick of the day, and sometimes it's just a feel thing with bets, right? Is that not correct? Is
That's
that
true.
not that's a feel thing?
Yep.
This Jets-Giants game. Jets are favored by 6. So they're minus 6. I'm actually taking the Giants in this one.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to play in this one.
Well, I'm still taking
I
it.
know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I know. I'm going with a
Ramon
feel.
going all underdogs.
I am.
It's a feel sometimes.
It's
though.
a feel,
It is
and
a
I
feel.
feel this one. I got Tyrod Taylor winning this one. After the Aaron Rodgers gets out of this game, he will start, and that's all they've told us about Aaron Rodgers. I just don't believe they're going to be able to pull this one together in one game and a couple series to win it. Of course, Tyrod will be the star of this game. Also, Jalen Hyatt will have 2 touchdowns.
Ooh.
It's a field thing.
2 touchdowns.
Ooh.
Wow.
field.
Okay.
Maybe bet on that on the side.
And,
There you go.
Yep, absolutely.
So no, Robert did not pay me to do this.
Go ahead and take
yes,
it. Go ahead and take it.
It is a little bit of a feel like Ramon was saying. So I'm going to go ahead and say, the Ravens just had their 24-game win streak in the preseason broke by the Commanders. But it's time for a new streak, folks. It's time to score some points. So I'm going to take the Ravens versus Tampa Bay in this preseason game coming up at plus 1.5.
Okay. I like it.
That's what I'm going to do.
How much you pay a Bert?
A little too much Ravens love for me, but that's okay.
Hey, some places got it too, but you know what? No big deal. Just walk off with a 1.5. That's fine. That's
perfect.
fine. My
Take the
bet's
money
up
and
here in
run.
a second.
Slip me some cash under there. Slip me some
That's
cash
right.
under there.
Robert, your final pick.
I'm going to go with the people that unseated the Ravens' preseason dominance last week, and it is the Commanders.
I feel
And
a little bit of bitterness here.
It is tough for me to go against the Bengals or to root for the Bengals, but in this game, I think I'm going to have to. Washington won their Super Bowl last week, and they are 4.5-point favorites. I don't care if it's Brandon Allen or Brandon Scrub. Anybody that you put in there this week, they're gassed. They did everything they needed to do. Sam Howell was a fantastic quarterback running against base defense. Great. I'm going to go Cincinnati.
Okay.
Cincinnati to fill the 4.5.
There we
Okay.
go.
All right. I'm going to stay right here again and say the Titans plus 2.5 at home against the New England Patriots to wrap up preseason. My hunch is that the Titans' first team offensive line gets a good amount of run in this game. And if Will Levis is available, I think he is looking to make up for lost time that he didn't have against the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Titans win their final preseason game. I think you've got enough guys battling for position still at important game-impacting places, including quarterback, that Malik Willis and Will Levis, to me, outperform Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham among the big group of New England Patriot quarterbacks. Trace McSorley in there as well, and remains to be seen, I guess, if we'll see Mac Jones. But I think the Titans get it done in this one. And look, if Mike Vrabel's throwing out the possibility that Ryan Tannehill does play in this final preseason game. I would imagine if Tannehill's playing, DeAndre Hopkins probably is too. Those guys would need to be a package deal. So even just one possession for those guys, I think would be enough to move this line. So I'm going to go ahead and take it at 2.5 before it does or doesn't move. And even if it doesn't, I think the Titans win this one.
Yeah. I like that. Give them a series, right? If you give them a series, I feel like you at least get 7.
Yeah, you got to at least get 7. Heck, without Tannehill, they've gotten points. That's one thing I've been pleasantly surprised with this year is watching those guys walk up and down the field. The true test is always going to be week 1, but they've rolled good enough to where, at least on the confidence side of operating offensively, believing in what Tim Kelly is calling this year, watching these young quarterbacks be calm about their deliveries and decision-making, although there have been interceptions, although there have been sacks. I think the belief that they can continue this on, I'm buying it too.
So some sports media news to sprinkle in here as well as we wrap a bow on our first Thursday 3. So total picks here. Kayla's got Jags -7, Notre Dame -20.5, and Ravens +1.5. Bert going Bengals +4.5, 49ers -7.5, New Mexico State -6.5. Ramon going all preseason NFL underdogs, which is a hot take. Dolphins +7, Lions +4.5, Giants +6. I'm taking Vandy -17.5, Titans +2.5, and San Diego State -2.5.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Pretty good mix, too. We didn't jump too much on each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we didn't, actually.
I was surprised no one else took Vandy or Titans in this.
I think I was kind of like, I'm going to stay away if anybody else takes that off.
I don't know how Vandy's going to play this weekend against a team, that's traveling this far. Like, to take that spread is a bit risque. So
-17.5 against a team they beat by 53 last year.
Yeah.
Like, I know Timmy Chang, the offensive guru who was made head coach last year, was in his first game.
Yeah.
And that team only won 3 games and was better down the stretch, but 17.5 is not a lot of points.
Aren't they displaced? Didn't they have a lot going on last year when they played them? I don't think they were playing out of their own home stadium last year.
No,
like,
they weren't.
Hawaii had a lot going on.
And this year they have a lot going on.
53 points is a lot of points.
It is a lot of points. I'm not saying Vandy's not capable of. It's just when we're talking about first week playing college football, I got Vandy winning, but I just don't know what it's going to look like because we don't know anything about Hawaii. That's my only thing. That's the reason I didn't pick them this weekend to actually choose a winner.
Yeah.
Or choose a spread, I guess.
Coming up.
I was just going to say Vandy's winning is what I'm saying.
Okay. Coming up, your kicker minute. What Michael Badgley did yesterday at St. Thomas Sports Park. Also, some sports media news on a show I had no interest watching that now I might tune into every now and then. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Having a good time for a few more minutes here on your Thursday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. The Buck Rising Show is next. Mike Giardi will join them at 10:20. You'll hear from Titans players, SEC Week 1 developments, and more with our friend Buck, who, it's 9:46, should be arriving within the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
As in right when the show starts. 615-737-1045, the final call for phone calls. We've got some sports media news to get to, as well as a kicker minute. Which one do the people want first?
Sports media.
Okay. Shannon Sharp will officially be on First Take with Stephen A. Smith.
Oh.
Starting September 4th. I will be tuned in.
What
Absolutely.
happened to Richard Sherman? What happened
Richard
with
Sherman's
that?
going with Skip Bayless.
Skip.
Oh.
Skip.
Potentially. That I will not be watching a second of.
I think it's
Okay.
supposed to
I
be
already
a-
don't like Richard Sherman, and I obviously don't like Skip Bayless because my brain functions the way it's supposed to.
That's gonna be fascinating. I can't wait to see that myself too. Between them two, Stephen A. and
Interesting.
what's his name too? Goodness gracious! Can you
Shan
imagine?
Sharp?
Can you imagine who's gonna talk the most on that one?
I can't wait.
Hey, Molly's got to be the one in the middle of them.
Yeah,
That's a hard job.
Yeah, it also explains why they made all those cuts too.
Yeah.
They got to pay somebody.
It's a change in business model, certainly, for ESPN. I do think it is going to be interesting to watch how people interact with their new midday lineup, going from Shannon and Stephen A. to Pat McAfee in football season. Pretty good.
How long is Pat gonna be on for? Like 4 hours, 5 hours too? Because
I
how
don't
long
have
did
the
this show
specifics of
run
that.
for?
It
About
was long.
3
3
hours or
hours, I
so.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of their shows have just been hour hits for the most part.
Yeah.
There has been nothing last the way Pat's show does.
Is it still out of his place, or did they kind of did he have to do the Bristol thing? Because I know like studios are based in Bristol
Yeah.
with most of their stuff. So I'm curious, did they let him keep his space too?
I would think they kept it in Ohio. I think it's where
that where he was?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was broadcasting out of
Okay.
Ohio is where it's done because most of his crew, I think, are local guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not local, but they live in that city. So to have all of them move up to Connecticut,
Wouldn't
which
make
I'm
any
sure ESPN is going to give a move bonus if they have to. But I think most of them dudes live out of Ohio.
Yeah,
The way
it probably
do that
wouldn't
show.
be surprising if they just stayed where they were.
Yep.
The Pat McAfee show will be from noon to 2.
Okay.
Between
hours.
First Take at 10 a.m. and Sports Center at 2 p.m.
Okay.
Interesting that the Pat McAfee show, which will start on September 7th, will also air on YouTube still too.
Okay.
So it will not just be on ESPN. ESPN kind of diving into that YouTube space too, trying to become competitors with 104.5 The Zone TV. That's a bold strategy.
I wonder if that's to allow him to still be uncensored.
I thought about that. I mean, but if it's airing at the same time, like if they're just bleeping out all the curse words, every other word's going to be bleeped out.
Sure, it would be very time
Because
consuming.
Pat has talked about this and said we can still get the same point across, but do it in different words.
Yeah, but it's not as much fun. Like if we had the chance to cuss, I'd be cussing up a storm.
I'm not gonna lie.
Just got word it's out of Indiana is where they do this.
Oh, okay, there
out
you
of
go.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Zach Bunch and F and Bank Chat said it's out of Indiana.
So he stayed in.
He did. Or
He
the
stayed there, right?
Where he was with the Colts, yeah. It makes sense. He's the show.
Sure.
You know?
You want to play running back too?
Yeah.
He could.
They
Why
may
not?
need one.
Find a guy on that show, definitely.
Sure.
Good for Pat, man. I didn't know what his plan was when he first jumped onto the scene. Oh, man, who was this guy? You're a punter. You're a kicker. You know, it was my conversation. Boy, he steamrolled that into something beautiful.
And I think just showing that college game day presence and the more professional side too of him, that mix
Yeah.
really kind of hit it for me.
It did. It did. I think we're all wondering what was going to happen with Corso. I think we understand now moving forward that he's going to be, whenever Corso's not on the show,
Yeah.
he's good for college game day. Gosh, Lee,
Yep.
he's good
Yeah, he
for
is.
it.
Certainly. Kicker minute from yesterday. Michael Badgley was much better yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park than he was in day one. Went 9 of 13 on Tuesday, was 10 of 10 during a special teams period yesterday. Then he made one of his 2 kicks that followed 2-minute periods. So he was 11 of 12 total on the day and has been 20 of 25 with his 2 days on the team. His miss came from 50 plus,
Right.
but made everything else, including one from 51.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
He also made a 50-yarder also. That's what you were looking for.
Yeah, it was inside yesterday. So the first day that he was here, obviously he was kicking outside. And then the practice was inside yesterday due to the heat. So it was also easier for us to keep track of too, because they have the big divot in the bubble where they kick. Behind it, you can see what is pretty much good.
Okay.
Because it'll go into the little divot there.
Gotcha.
And so it was easier for all of us to keep track too, because it's like, okay, that's for sure good. Like there was a couple of them, I think the 50-yarder that he missed that we had to make sure, like, was that good or not good?
Yeah.
But I guess step in the right direction, but I'm assuming, he's going to get all his work on Friday.
Yeah, has to. I
Right?
mean, he's the only guy right now.
Yeah.
How short of a leash does he have if he has
Short.
a bad game Friday?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. What would it require for him to be cut? 2 missed kicks?
Yeah.
If you miss an extra point,
Extra point.
if you miss an extra point, I feel like they're calling somebody else.
I feel like that's a little too short of a leash.
I don't know, man. If you're missing an extra point
I'm
in a
with
game
you.
that don't mean
Yeah.
nothing, like something's going on in that noggin of yours, and I'd probably call somebody else to kick.
And they've already had him before. Mike Vrabel's already had him here, and they've given him another chance to come in here and try to prove himself again. So I would say it's probably a little short.
I would expect short leash too. Just in general, I think the tolerance of Rabel and his staff have for kickers
There's not much.
is short anyway.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to cut a guy too quickly and then no actually good kicker wants to join you because they know that if you just miss 1 extra point, you're going to be cut too.
Best part is they got over 8-9 days to still bring in tryout guys too.
There's a couple guys out there.
Yeah, Mason
So-
Crosby and Robbie Gold are the 2 main ones, but
Right.
old.
They are
Robbie
old.
old.
You beat me! Dang it!
Gotta have to be quicker than that. Back again at it tomorrow, 6 a.m. on a Titans game day edition of
Ooh.
Ramon, Kalen, Will at 6 a.m. Looking forward to that. Special thanks to Coach Mack, to Ben Arthur for joining us. Tomorrow, we will have Brent Hubbs, voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, and more. Looking forward to that. And looking forward to always hearing on a Thursday, on a Friday, on whatever day. Words of wisdom from one, Ramon Aloysius Foster.
You must remember at all times, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.